What's up, nerds? How's everybody doing today? Hope everyone's feeling well. Welcome to the show. My name's CinderBlocksally. We're gonna start pretty soon. Exciting. What's up, Dr. Gonzo? Whoa, why is my lighting all weird? Oh, I'm in the shadow realm. Whoa. What happened? What do you guys think happened? Let's try to fix that. Strange times, friends. Oh, voodoo. Why is the camera not working in the way that it's supposed to? Everything is broken. It all falls apart. Oh, interesting. All right, we're not going to worry about any of that. Okay, I think we're good. Oh yeah, we're back, baby. Everything is a little off. I don't know why. There we go, that's better. Hello, hello. What's up, Gem Jar? All right, who's here? Who's here today, guys? Say hi. Say hi to us. To me! What's up, Pinky? What's up, Panda? What's up, Tridocio? No, I have us moving stuff around with my monitor. What's up, Dr. Humor? Into the Indie, welcome, welcome. Mac the Knife, Robert, hello, hello. Bon appetit. Jaden. Batty. Liram, hello, hello. What's up, Bab? What's up, Bat? How's it going, Valentine? Feeling good? What's up, Malachi? A D&D dude? Ain? Sponge? Lordship? The Venusian Sun? Hi, guys. Welcome to the show. How's everybody feeling? Good? I hope you're feeling good. I'm a little under the weather, if I'm going to be honest. If I can be honest with you guys for a moment. If you would dare allow me such a thing. Just once. For once in your selfish lives. Well, that's way sadder than I was going for. We don't need to be that sad. That's a silly thing. Just be regular. Let's just be regular people. Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome to the show. Sponge, ooh, a spooky number for a spooky month. Ooh. Hey guys, welcome. How's it going? How's everybody feeling today? I'm a little sick. I didn't sleep super well last night. So, with that in mind, I'm still excited. We're still gonna have a great little eve. But we're gonna be a little chill. Just a little chill. Okay? Okay. The flesh vessel is very human. And unfortunately, while it is my domain, I must adhere to its rules. For better or worse. Why do you let the flesh vessel get sick? I don't know. Why do you let your food digest? It just happens, you know. Just because you exist in a more conscious state than something doesn't mean you necessarily have complete control over it. Cure disease is I think a spell from a video game or D&D. Those aren't real, Venusian. They're not real. They're pretend. Shh, don't tell anyone. Don't tell anyone. You didn't finish your piece before stream? That's okay. You can lay on whatever you want. It's just, you got to remember that, you know, if you lay on hands in real life, that could lead to a lawsuit depending on what happens. So just be careful. Big magic. It's very funny. Ah, man, today's gonna be good though. We have some cool stuff we're gonna be looking at. I finished I'm all caught up on From. Oh my god, that show is so fun. I've been trying to watch something scary every single day of October. So if there's a movie to watch, I'll watch a movie. Some days I'll watch a show. And I've seen some cool stuff. Oh, the other thing is I'm trying to make them all things that I haven't seen before. And the other day I watched the first 2 episodes of the Junji Ito show. That was pretty good. And I watched a really cool movie 2 nights ago called Borderlands, or The Borderlands. It's like a found footage movie. It was very good. Yeah. There's not a million good scary things I haven't seen. Hard to find. Lesser Restoration is kind of cure disease, no? What a different vibe this song has from the one we just played. You're taking us on we're going on a weird journey tonight, music, huh? Where are you gonna take us? Guess we'll see. What's up, Joey? Welcome back. Good to see you, bud. Do I have time to read too? I will read if it's a short story. I really like short stories. But I have very little patience for bad writing. So I don't like reading if I don't like the style of the writing. It's very hard for me to, even if the story's really great, if I don't like the style of the writing, I just can't get into it. So I'm very, you know, author to author when it comes to that. With short stories, I have a little bit more patience for it, but still not much. High in potassium. Ooh, that you don't need any more bananas. Well, thank you very much for the sub. That's very kind of you. Rob Table says, a Freudian slip is when you say one thing, but you mean your mother. You funny man. Yeah, see, I didn't read the 3-Body Problem, but I did watch all of the, like, what's that guy's name? Quinton something? He's a YouTuber and he talks about sci-fi books. I've watched every one of his videos on the 3-Body Problem, and I really like the show. But, here we go. It's a little bit better. But, yeah. Didn't read it. What's up, Alexander? How's it going? Have I seen The Bye-Bye Man? Maybe. No. But is it stupid? It looks... The pictures make it look stupid. That doesn't always mean a movie is stupid. Los Cronos Criminales, Time Crimes, has one of the stupidest looking... It's one of the stupidest looking movies you've ever seen, but it's great. I'm also not the biggest fan of, like, random mythical serial killer monster who has undefined powers that do whatever the story needs. So if it's one of those, I'm also not super into it. Like, I'm a big fan of supernatural stuff and monster stuff and all that, but I like when it has defined rules that the the universe, that the story works within. I don't like when the rules define the story. I feel like that's, or the rules change for the story. I don't like that. It makes me sort of feel like I'm just like, oh, somebody's going like, and then this happened, and then this happened, and then this happened, and it's like, okay. There's no real consequence to anything. You're just making whatever happens that you want to have happen. Yeah, Flareware, exactly. Yeah, the Borderlands is great. It's about, I don't want to give anything away, and the best advice I would say is go in expecting a very slow burn. That's very good. But the Borderlands, it has another name too. This is not Borderlands. That just came out. This is the Borderlands that came out a little while ago. And it's about folks that they investigate miracles on behalf of the Vatican. And they are going to like a small town, I think in Ireland, to document what's happening at this church. And it's a found footage film. And it's just really good. Like, it has, I mean, I don't want to give anything away. So trust me when I say it's a little bit cray-cray. But beyond that, the characters are like really good. It just feels like it's just good. It's like, there's not a lot of found footage movies where you care about the characters or feel like there's really like character development in a way that feels natural. And there is in this one. It's good. Not the movie Borderlands, the Borderlands. You silly goose. I also watched all of the VHS movies so far this month. I didn't watch VHS Viral because I heard it was terrible, but I watched all the other ones. I also watched Wreck, which I hadn't seen before. That was very good. I have not played the Rogue Trader video game. I'm very new to Warhammer. Like, I'm working on a Warhammer video right now, a long form video. And the premise of the video is sort of twofold. The first part of the video is a little bit high-minded, but I'm a little bit pretentious and I need things to feel high-minded so that I can get silly. And it is that when you take a really goofy idea, but you take that idea really seriously, you can make really fun things, which is what Warhammer is. It's a silly, just kids smashing action figures against each other, taken to the most serious extreme, but like with an earnest intent. And that, I think, creates something kind of magical, regardless of what you're doing there. When you just like, let's take this very pure, playful, silly thing and really elevate it without judging it. I think you can make some crazy stuff. I think Mad Max Fury Road is that also. A lot of things are that. A lot of the really good things are that. But then the other thing that I want to make the Warhammer video kind of about, or at least the way that I want to make it unique for me, because there's a billion Warhammer videos, is that I know I'm not an expert, but I also know I know a little. So I am not going to be a deep diver. I am going to be an explorer who knows that I'm going to get stuff wrong. And my goal is not to have you learn all the names or the lineages or everything like that. We're just going to be trying to talk vibe and have a good time and like fun, punchy things. So like sort of a shallower on one hand, in terms of like the like the historical element to it, I guess, a much shallower exploration. We'll see how that goes. I think it'll be good. Exactly. I don't want to make a 4-hour video where you learn about the Primarch and you kind of forget half of it while you're listening to it. I don't want to do that. And those are fun videos. Those are like half the things I watch on YouTube. I want to make them feel, I want to make a little bit more silly, punchy, fun fact style. So we'll see how it goes. Hi, Jeff. Your name is Jeff? You have a very apt username. Doom Patrol is fantastic. The comic book and the show are both very, very good. There's a character in Warhammer. Wait, there's a character in 40k whose name is Obi-Wan Sherlock Klaus. Klausu. That's quite the name. You definitely don't have to get into Warhammer. The video basically opens with me saying Warhammer is a lot of fun and it's definitely not for everybody. So if you are going to get annoyed by me glossing over things and getting things wrong, this video is not for you. And if you're going to get, I don't say it exactly like that, but the other thing is, like, if you don't like grim, dark, oh, edgy, we're edgy little kids and nobody understands us, and you didn't think we were going to do that, but we did. And then we were stronger. And yeah, and our fireball was the biggest fireball. If that type of conversation drives you crazy, then Warhammer probably is not for you. And that's okay. You don't have to like that conversation, but you have to be willing to look past it. Sort of like how a lot of people are willing to look past some of the creepier elements of anime in a way that I struggle with, and I am not able to do that. I can put up with the cringy aspects of, oh, well, my monster has 6 claws. I can handle that. There's also Warhammer Fantasy. Yeah, that's a whole other kettle of fish. We'll hop into that at some point. I am playing Vermintide more than I'm playing Space Marines right now. And here's the thing, and this is so stupid, because it doesn't matter. But when you're dealing with imagination games, stories, like things that I'm reading or learning about, I am much more interested in sci-fi than I am fantasy. Because I feel like, and I know that this is illogical. I'm acknowledging that this is illogical, especially in the context of Warhammer. But I feel like there are rules of engagement in terms of like how the universe works that sci-fi adheres to, and fantasy just makes up whatever rules they want to make up at the time to make it work. Not all of it, and I acknowledge that. And also with really, they're kind of just the same thing, just through different lenses. But for whatever reason, I just have a much harder time getting emotionally invested or like being excited by hearing about a crazy, powerful fantasy monster compared to a powerful sci-fi monster, because the sci-fi monster feels more real for whatever reason. I don't know why. Like, I feel like, oh, I could say, the dragon had a double fire breath. It's like, okay. I know that that's very diminishing and illogical or whatever, but maybe I'll be able to move past that and get into Age of Sigmar type Warhammer fantasy at some point. But for now, in terms of what we do with Warhammer stuff, we are going to be sticking in the 40K. I have to finish this first video, and I've redone the opening like 3 times. I need to just commit to a bit. Age of Sigma. Sci-fi, sci-fi often is more grounded in science, but even if it's not, it creates fake science that it grounds itself in. Like, Warhammer is a good example of that. I think there's a lot of like science that just is bullshit in Warhammer, but it's very consistent in Warhammer. Like warp travel, right? And the dangers of warp travel and how you can travel in the warp. Like, that is a very consistent thing. Sci-fi monster feels like a fantasy monster with mecha coating over it. I think that's true in a lot of circumstances, for sure. And I also think it's true, like, just foundationally, in that fantasy stories are older by that. Like, sci-fi is sort of a new type of fantasy, so a lot of ideas of sci-fi things, you know, they take inspiration from fantasy. But I don't feel that way that often, because I would say most of the time for me, the difference between a fantasy monster and a sci-fi monster, and this is not across the board, this is very much generalizing, But the difference between a fantasy monster and a sci-fi monster is that a sci-fi monster can be understood somewhat. Not necessarily like I can see its brain, right? Like there can be cosmic horror sci-fi monsters, but there are parameters in which it exists that can be... The parameters in which you engage with it can be somewhat like marked, you know? And I feel like fantasy monsters, why are they what they are? I don't know, magic. Anyway, I acknowledge that that's hypocritical a lot of the time, but that's how I feel about it. I don't see sci-fi monsters as mecha versions of fantasy. I see them as more like not grounded, but more defined within their story. Even if that's not clear to the audience or to the characters. How long am I streaming? At least a couple hours. We haven't looked at anything yet. We're really just getting started. I usually go until I'm tired. So I'm a little sick today, so we'll see. But I got a couple hours in me. I would say this. You don't need to rush. If you don't get your homebrew looked at on this stream, every Sunday I do another homebrew review stream, and we'll have more challenges. I'm trying to do at least one challenge a week, so we're gonna figure out what our next challenge will be. If you have suggestions for it, I'm gonna post something in my Discord that you can leave comments on. Maybe I'll post it on YouTube also with suggestions, and then I'll pick from a couple of those and we'll put another poll up to pick the next one. But yeah, we basically are going to have one challenge a week, one open stream, one open forum homebrew review a week, and then maybe another one or maybe random other things. The other days are going to be flexy. If we don't have Discord, how should we give suggestions? YouTube comments? I'd say a YouTube comment on this video when it's done, or on the community post that I put up inevitably. I'd also say Discord's not that hard to get. You'd love a themed homebrew day for pack monsters. If we did a homebrew challenge that was all about monsters that work in a pack, I think what I would probably do is I would probably put some rules up of things that you could not use because people would all use them. I think you would have to make a monster that feels like it lives in a pack and works in a pack no pack tactics for sure. And I might put in something else about, I like that idea, but we would need a little bit, I would need a little bit of a barrier, something to make sure we didn't end up with like 30 of the same thing. What's up, Ninja? And I don't think we would necessarily get 30 of the same thing, but we'd see a lot of repetition of mechanics for sure, and I'd want to figure out how to avoid that. I wouldn't mind packs of high CR monsters. I think that could be fun. I also like, that's kind of a fun challenge in general. Make a really low CR monster. People don't make super low CR monsters enough. We've done pairs of monsters before. That's a challenge we've done before. We could do it again. We've done design a monster that's intended to pair with another monster. Could we do a stream making fictional characters into D&D characters? I don't know if I would want to do that where we were character creating live. I don't know how fun that would actually be. Plus, I really don't like how D&D Beyond works right now, so I'm kind of annoyed with it, so I don't want to use it super actively. But we could, we've done in the past ones where it's like, build a level 10 character and make them Batman, and people have sent in their characters and we've looked at them. We could do something like that. Maybe design a monster that is found in a set environment. Yeah, that could be a fun idea. Environmental specific monsters. And maybe we would put on the parameter that it could not be It had to be a unique environment. It could not just be a forest or a desert or something like that. It had to be a little unusual. The Smash Bros. Challenge was great. Yeah. Although that wasn't creating characters, that was creating subclasses. Brent and I are on the same page. We want to do a map-based challenge. Yeah. I might just do one even if it doesn't get voted for at some point. Cuz I really want to do a map-based challenge. I think that would be fun. It would just be fun to look at battle maps that people make. Also, for people that are watching, they would just get a bunch of battle maps that they could use, which is kind of nice. And an idea of how to use it, because you're building it to be used in a specific way. Yeah, it would be fun to do another Brewmaster type thing. That was really that was a genuine nightmare to run. It was very fun, but it was very hard to run. But we could maybe do another talk show. We could do another thing like that at some point. I would need to figure out a better way to run it. That was a very, very fun show. Like the end product was great, but the process was rough. Flareware, I was assuming people would make the battle maps that they were using, so they would credit themselves, or they would use like Incarnate or Dungeon Draft or something. Combining two monster types into a new monster, that could be interesting. What's up, Pixie? Welcome to the show. How many people would make a gargantuan monster and the map is on top of it? Depending, I would say if we got more than 30 submissions, at least 2. But we don't always get a lot. Like, let me see how many we have for this opposite homebrew stream. We only have 22 submissions. Part of why I like the challenge streams is that they sort of isolate the herd of people that want to do a little bit of extra something, you know, for themselves. But then we get to take advantage of it by watching it and looking at it. Constraint is one of the most important tools for creativity. You like the videos where with the angry dungeon master? Yeah, he's pretty good. He's a good guy. Opposite versions of monsters would be cool too. Yeah, opposites is kind of a fun idea in general because it is very interpretive. And there's not really a, like when it comes to like creative things, like really kind of weird oblong objects like monsters and stuff, or like what we're doing today, subclasses, there's a lot of ways you can interpret what the opposite of something it could be. And there's not a lot of wrong answers, you know? The suggestion that I saw in the Discord that I really liked, and the one that if I was just gonna pick we would do, was somebody said cursed items that your players will want to keep around. And I think that is a really fun headspace to think in, because you're wanting the item to be cursed, which means it's gonna have some negative attribute, gameplay loop, something, but you want that curse to either be really balanced out by what it is, or you know, sort of not such a big deal. I don't know. I think it gives you, it's a weird balance dynamic to play within. The opposite of a mimic, I think the opposite of a mimic is, yeah, just like a taxidermied animal or a sculpture of an animal. That would be really funny if we did an opposite of monsters and somebody did the opposite of a mimic, and they just sent in like the mechanics of a small or the mechanics of like a medium-sized stone object, because it just didn't have stats, because it was just the opposite of a mimic, was just a statue. That'd be great. I made a video about that, Rob. I made a video about a lich using older spells from older editions. People did not like that video, or they did. It got a lot of angry comments. People were very much like, they were like, I was spreading bad information. I was like, guys, it's just an interesting thought experiment. That's all it is. It was fine. Man, I will say this. The one thing that I immediately notice that is different whenever I make a Warhammer video than when I make a D&D video is that the Warhammer comments are so much worse. Like, so much more dumb and childish and cringy and mean. Like, it's crazy. It really, like, lowers the quality a lot. No offense if you're one of them. They're not all bad. But, like, I would say if on a normal video, I would say 30% of the comments are a little bit cringy or bad. And I don't even mean like bad, like they're like, you're wrong. I just mean like they're just like, well, like you're adding nothing to the internet or making it worse. Maybe like 30%. On the Warhammer videos, I'd say it's like 50%. What's up, Glitchy? I think that Warhammer also has not... Warhammer has sort of the same, I think, culture around it that D&D did in like 4th edition or like early 5th edition before it became really mainstream. So there's like a much heavier amount of actually and gatekeepiness that it still has that D&D kind of just can't have anymore. But I also think that a lot of people are just having a good time. Like, I would say still 50% of the comments are very much like, oh, this guy's just having a good time. I'm having a good time too. You know? Which is kind of what my goal is with those anyway. If we did a challenge that was about creating BBEGs, I would have to put some pretty strict rules on it for limiting how massive your monster stat block could be, because I love you all to death. But especially for folks that have not sent me a lot of homebrew before, there is a tendency for people to bloat their monsters. And I would not have fun reading that many bloated monsters. You know, you get a bloated whale on the beach, that sucker pops, everybody's getting stinky. It's not even about the power level, it's about the amount of features. The orcs are my favorite things in Warhammer. The orcs are the only things in Warhammer that are having a good time. That's not true. No, I think it is true. There's probably some chaos demons that are having a good time. But all orcs, for the most part, are consistently living their best life. Like, even if they're dealing with, like, what they would consider adversity, which for them would be, like, having nothing to fight, or, like, fighting people that are using guerrilla warfare tactics. You know, they're still very actively working towards their goals, which are very clear and narrow-minded. Yeah, if you had to live in Warhammer, you'd want to be an orc, I think, for sure. Or if you could be born as a chaos demon, but not have to start as a person. Like, you didn't have to go through the trial of existing and being corrupted. You could just straight up start as a chaos demon. I think you would also have a pretty good time. I think either one of those are probably your best bet. Or if you really, really, really want to just relax and like your goal is like, all of that sounds stressful. Like I don't want to have to be that action oriented. I would say you should be a Tyrannid, because the Tyrannid, you just like plug into the central nerve and you just have a singular goal and you accomplish that goal, and then you're good. You go back to the biomass and you're chilling. You don't have to think about any existential crisis. I don't make choices. I could just, all right, I just slash. All right, I just become a gun and shoot things. You know? I would say if you're not gonna be an orc or a chaos demon, you want to be the least sentient thing possible. Wait, do we submit stuff in Discord? The link should be in the video description for this stream. I think it is. Yeah, it is. So on YouTube, you can submit your homebrew idea, your homebrew submission in the link in the video description. On Twitch, you can do the command wheel. Let me see if we got any more. All right, we got a couple more. You guys want to see the wheel? Sashimi, I just got you on there, baby. No, Flare? Okay, I guess we can wait a little longer. It's fine, I don't mind. You play the Necrons? I don't know. The Necrons are one of the ones that I'm starting to learn about, but I don't have a base. Like, I know the basic... I act like I know less than I do. I know the basic history of the Space Marines. Like, if I gun to my head, I could talk about the Horus Heresy and shit, that kind of thing. But like, I know the basic history and sort of logic of the Space Marines, of the Tyranids, of the Orcs, of Chaos, a little, and the Tau, kind of. I don't really know anything about the Eldar other than the Harlequins and that all this, you know, the meme stuff. And I know the only thing I really know about the Necrons is that they are like sort of like robot zombies, and they don't have personalities except for the leaders, but the leaders are like the most personality having people in all of Warhammer, where like the really powerful ones that are very conscious, like they are like the most relatable characters in most of these stories a lot of the time, in terms of like how they talk and act, not like for being good, but for being kind of human. And they're like jillions of years old, and they are buried under old worlds, and they're not really afraid of anything, and they politely tell you when they're going to destroy your planet. My favorite story about the Necrons is like there's like a world that's like ours, right, where there's like not a lot of tech yet, and I don't even know how much space travel there is outside of like the Empire coming and being like, give us stuff. And one day they all just get a message, like every single person's phone at the same time receives a message, and it's like, hello, we are the Necrons. You are on our planet. No worries. Total mistake. We haven't been there for a long time. You don't need to feel bad about it. You have a week to evacuate the planet. Take your time, but then we are going to kill everything that's left and rebuild it in our own image. So just wanted to let you know, you got a week to leave. Bye. But it's like, what do we do? We can't, how do we, you know what I mean? Like that's kind of the Necrons. That's what I know about them anyway. But like, again, I don't know. They're one of the ones I don't know that much about, but everything that I like about them, everything I know about them so far, I like quite a bit. You're at your dad's, so you don't have your computer to make art? You don't need to make art for your brew. That's okay. Also, you don't need to rush. You never need to rush. The Necrons hate the Orcs? Yeah, well, nobody's perfect. I love the Orcs. The Orcs are my favorite. And it's not even close. The Tyranid used to be my favorite, But the more I learned about Warhammer and the more like I sort of heard stories and read little bits and pieces, the Tyranid are kind of boring. Like, conceptually, the Tyranid are really cool and interesting, but from a story perspective, there's not a lot of interesting stories about the Tyranids other than, oh gosh, we're fighting the Tyranids. Like, they don't add much. There's not a lot of interesting, like, standout moments featuring the Tyranids. They're kind of, but that's kind of they're just like a wave of creatures. And I think that the more that I started to get into that kind of stuff, the more I liked those like genuine little stories. And there's so many good stories about the orcs. The orcs have so many funny, weird little stories. Tyranids kind of don't. Or if they do, I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there's some really great stories about a couple specific Tyranids doing a thing, but I just feel like that's not the way that they roll. How would I feel about a third caster monk subclass with a wizard spell list? I think it could work. I would probably... Here's what I would do. If I was trying to make a third caster monk, I probably would see if I could figure out a way to make that work without it using spell slots in the same traditional way. I might play around with that. I made a monk once that was a dancing spellcaster, and they could sacrifice movement on their turn as aspects of casting spells. I don't remember if they had spell slots or not, or they just had limited casting. I don't remember. How did I limit that? If I remember correctly, the way that I had it work was that on your turn, I could look it up, but we're not going to do that right now. But I think I think the way it worked was that at the start of your turn, you could sacrifice half of your movement on that turn, regardless of what that movement was. And then you had some resource of spells. It wasn't spell slots, but I think it was more like the ancestral the Ascendant Dragon, where it was just like proficiency bonus times per day. At the beginning of your turn, you can sacrifice half your movement to cast, you know, a first level spell or something like that. I don't remember exactly that. I think it was something like that. I don't remember exactly. Do I write about it in the link section since I can't make my art? Well, I don't understand the question. Do you mean in the form? Have you? You might not have clicked on the form yet, but there's a whole section in the form for you to explain what you're sending in. But also, just so you know, we're not looking at everything today. Today's a very specific theme, and we're about to get started on it, which is the theme is making an opposite/evil subclass. So picking one of the official subclasses, whatever one you want from any of the things other than the new 2024 rules, but sticking to the older rules, but from any of them, and then using that to create either an opposite or an evil version of it. Our next big open homebrew wheel is on Sunday. I used to play Magic. I haven't in a really long time. I played Magic when I was a kid. I play Hearthstone a little bit now, but no Magic. What would happen if you took the wish spell to use it to recreate a fallen party member? Would they be a zombified version, or would it be a regular version? I think it'd be a regular version. The real answer is I would talk to the player who was being brought back to life and ask them what they wanted, and that's what it would be. I might not have that conversation with the whole table. I might just have that conversation with that player. But I wouldn't want that player to come back to life in a way that they didn't want their character to, you know? Like, I've been in games where my character died and I was ready to make a new character and they came back to life, but they had some like zombified nature and I hated it. I basically pulled the dungeon master aside and said, hey, I either need to be my old character full, exactly what they were before in terms of like their power and what I can do with them, or I'd rather them be dead again. I'm not interested in playing this zombie version of them. That's not fun for me. So that's why I would want to talk to the player about that first. I've been in that situation. Oh, Marcus, you're very kind. Any tips for making a psychic barbarian? I would say, what is it? What else would it be beyond psychic? Psychic, I don't think is enough to go off of. Psychic might be enough to go off of if you have a bunch of ideas, but if you don't have any ideas, then I would say go dive deeper than psychic. What kind of psychic are they? All right, let's take a look at this. This wheel. This wheel. Oh, you made that crazy barbarian subclass? Yeah, that was crazy overpowered. It was an interesting idea, but it was 2 subclasses put together. Oh, the zombie thing can definitely work, but I just don't think it's fair to force a player to play a version of their character that they never intended to play, don't want to play. You know, it's their character. There's very few things in the game that the player gets real ownership over, you know, where they have full agency, full control. It is the thing that they are adding to the game. So that to change that without their permission in a way that you're not checking to see if it's cool with them is, I think, I don't think that's good. I think it's a dangerous game. Thoughts on Greyhawk? I don't know enough about Greyhawk to care in any direction, so no thoughts. How many hawks are in it? I'm colorblind, so I'm all for Greyhawks. That's basically the way I live my life. Dude, if a player wants to come back as a zombie thing, that's a whole other can of fish. That's a great thing. What's up, Connor? Hoping your opposite subclass goes down better. Well, I'm going to be real honest with you. On the challenge nights, I don't go as hard in the paint because I'm not really in aggressive feedback mode. So if it's jank as hell, I'm just going to say it. It's jank, and we're not going to deep dive into it. I'm just going to be like, that's ridiculously overpowered, but we're moving on. So because the challenges are under a time constraint, you're under a time constraint, and I want for the challenges, I want you to feel like you can try to just make the thing and not be super stressed about every aspect of it. And if you like the thing you made at the end, then you can get super stressed about it and try to refine it into something. But I think the initial goal should just be, let's play the game, you know? How do you submit something? If you're on YouTube, the link is in the video description. What does opposite subclass mean? The instructions are in the video description, in the form, in the link below. But it means picking one of the official subclasses in D&D and making a subclass that's the opposite of it. So, for example, you might take the Way of Mercy monk and make the Way of Vengeance monk. Or you might take the Shadow sorcerer and make the Light sorcerer. Or you might take the, I don't know, any of that. We're going to look at them in a second. We haven't looked at any yet. You feel like you're not delivering enough to your players? I don't think you need to worry about that if they're showing up and they're having a good time. Are you checking in with them? That's kind of the only thing you need to do. If you're concerned that your players aren't having a good time, you should ask them to give you feedback. Ask them what's something they would like to see more of in the game. Ask them what's something in the game that they like a lot of. Well, ask ask them what they like and what they would like to see more of. And if they don't have any, if they say we like all of it, I don't know what I want more of, then you don't need to worry about it. And if they give you ideas of things they would like more of, then you got a little roadmap. Dude, there's somebody doing fucking drilling on the other side of my wall. And they've been doing it all day and it's so loud. I feel like they're gonna drill through the wall. Somebody did send in Path of the Human Barbarian as an opposite to Path of the Beast, which I'm selfishly very hoping gets spun on the wheel. Do I link to a document? Yes, literally all of the instructions are in the form. All of the instructions are in the form. Just read the just read it. Don't make sure you read it, because it will give you all you need. Your Twitch sub stopped and now it won't let you resub? I do not know. I do not know. Do I think a melee sorcerer would work? What is that the opposite of? I don't think there is a ranged sorcerer subclass. So I would say pick a specific subclass and make the opposite of that. Don't just make an unusual archetype. An unusual archetype is not an opposite. A melee sorcerer is just a melee sorcerer. Now, if you made a giant sorcerer and said that was the opposite of a dragon sorcerer, because giants and dragons fight each other, and then you made that sorcerer a melee sorcerer, that could work. But melee is not the opposite of anything. There isn't really a wrong answer so long as you pick a specific thing to be the opposite of. Literally every question that you guys are asking me is in the form. It is literally every question I'm getting is in the form. Including yours, Alexander. What would I do for an anti-magic sorcerer? Not much. They ain't got shit from me. I don't live in a world of magic. This flesh vessel lives primarily in the regular Earth dimension, which is very low on magic, unfortunately. So I don't got to do anything for them. You mean, what would I give them? I don't know. I think making an anti-magic... The trick to making an anti-magic sorcerer would sort of be the same as making an anti-magic anything, which is not really an opposites thing, but it's how do you make a subclass that is useful and interesting as an anti-magic subclass, even when you're not fighting magic. So you wouldn't want to just give them features that directly affected magic. You want to give them some of those, but you would want to give them features that helped them do things that was a part of the tool set of messing with magic, but also helped in other ways. So like maybe, for example, like if they could make like a bubble of silence, that's good against magic sometimes, but that's also just good in a number of ways. So I would want to think in that sort of direction, is how can I make this thing mechanically interesting without a dungeon master needing to constantly throw spellcasters at the party? You know, you want to be able to use the anti-magic. You want to be able to have access to your subclass and to be able to feel like you are your subclass, whether you're fighting a wizard or a hill giant. I'm looking at the forum, but it doesn't tell me where the link in the video description is. Connor, I don't understand what that question is. What? If you go to YouTube and you look in the video description on YouTube, there is a link. If you click that link, that is the submission form, including all of the instructions. Unless I put the wrong thing in there. Double check right now. But I'm 99% sure it's the right one. Yeah, it's there. All of the instructions are in that form. That link. I hope that clears it up. Mastermind rogue, idiot rogue. My idea for the opposite of a mastermind rogue was a Mr. Magoo rogue. But yeah. But who is the communist warlock the opposite of? Okay, we actually have to make a choice before we start. Oh fuck. I should have done this before we got into this. Genuine question, chat, and I'm just gonna see if you say yes if you think we should do this and no if you think we shouldn't. I am positive that there is going to be a bunch of people that did not understand the prompt and didn't do it correctly, where they really didn't do an opposite of a subclass. They made a urban druid or like or a melee sorcerer or something like that. Guaranteed. Now, my question for you is, do we still read those? Or do we treat those as not following the prompt? And do we skip them? So yes if we read them, no if we do not read them. Skip? Oh my god, you're all saying skip. Holy shit. I thought, oh my god. Okay. You guys are out for blood. I was so confident that you guys were going to say, of course we should read them. Give them a chance. Literally, there is 2 people that said yes. 3. Okay, so we'll skip them. Okay. Your vote. Listen, I'm Pontius Pilate. I'm washing that blood off my hands. So, if at any point in the stream we have to skip one, you guys need to, in chat, remind them that this was your decision. Deal? Let me just make sure I understand what the prompt was specifically. This isn't trying to be like a trick or something. I want to make sure I gave clear instructions. Pick one of the officially published subclasses from the 2014 rule set and create either an evil or an opposite subclass based off of it. It can be both. It can be thematic, it can be mechanical, it can be both. And then I said, what subclass is this the opposite evil version of? And explain how it's the opposite. Okay, so if you did those 2 things, we'll still look at your homebrew. But that will be a little bit of a way to thin it, I think. You don't need to thin it, but we're here to do a challenge. Okay, you guys want to see the wheel? Boom! Check it out. Behold. It's a very nice wheel. Yeah, only 22 submissions. 23, excuse me. Bagadu 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 bagadu. This isn't Nom, man. There are rules. All right, we're starting with Lord Chip. Rob, that was funny. Rob, did you start watching me through me talking to Rob, other Rob? Is that how you bumped into me? Let's see what Lord Chip says. Clockwork Soul sorcerers draw their magic from the technological plane of mechanists. One does not need to be a philosophy major to understand, it's a little bit of a weird tone, to understand how technology and nature are polar opposites. So therefore, the wildlife sorcerer who draws their magic from nature serves as the same opposite. All right, cool. So we are doing an opposite of a clockwork sorcerer, a wildlife sorcerer. Let's check it. Let's check it out. Check it out. Boom, boom. Yeah, you think so? Because I see you whenever I pop over to his channel. I see you in the chat. All right, this is the wildlife sorcerer. Druids are guardians of nature first and foremost. However, some druids have more time on their hands. Rather, okay, I'm gonna be honest. We're not reading flavor text. This flavor text needs work. I'm just gonna say that, and we're gonna move on. This is bad flavor text. Don't. Do you see how long it takes you to say what we're talking about? Don't do that. We don't need. You don't want half of your flavor text to be intro to what you're going to be talking about. You don't want to write your flavor text like a college essay. All right, let's see what features we get. Okay, we get some spells. Speak with animals, Goodberry, Beast Sense, Moonbeam, Conjure animals, Water breathing, Dominate beast, Locate creature, Wrath of nature, Commune with nature. All right, we get some nature spells. We get some nature characteristics. Those are fun. And we get a druidic form. Once per long rest, as an action, you can transform into an animal with a CR no higher than 1/8. You can also expend 3 sorcery points as part of the action to transform into an animal. What? What does that mean? I'm confused by why we're spending sorcery points. When in this form, you retain your things. You do not use animal hit points, but rather you gain temporary hit points equal to double your level. Losing these temporary hit points does not knock you out of druidic form. Rather, you must use a bonus action to dismiss your form. I like the idea of giving a sorcerer a little minor version of wild shape. I will say this is really overpowered. This is like, hey, let's give you druid wild shape, but you get a lot more uses and each time you use it, you also get a shit ton of temporary hit points. And you can't be knocked out of your form. So I would say it's a little extra, but the heart is there. The heart is there. Those are the new wild shape rules. So did you just copy the rules from the 2024 rule book? I would say don't do that. This is just the 2024 wild shape with more. Did you just copy that? Come on, man. That's lazy, Lord. Don't be lazy on challenges. All right. Also, don't use the 2024 rules for the 2014 rules. You silly goose. Yeah, that's cheating. Exactly. Let's see if we get at level 6. Whenever you take damage from a hostile creature, you can use your action to move your movement speed away from the target. This movement doesn't provoke opportunity attacks. That's very good. If when using this movement you go through a natural hazard, you ignore any effects. I think this needs to be limited in use. It's fine if it is. It's fine if it is. But if it's not, that's a little crazy. Full movement speed, no opportunity attacks, infinite. That's a lot on a reaction. All right, let's see what Friends of Nature does at 14th level. When you cast a spell to summon a beast or fey, we get some of those here, right? Yeah. It's weird. You took the rules. What is going on? Are you in like, are you like in a time curse? Because you took the wild shape rules from the new book, but you didn't use any of the newer summoning spells, like summon fey or summon beasts. Either of those could and arguably should be on this list. So what, like, why aren't they here? But this is. That's like some time tornado shenanigans. Okay, what happens? Whenever you summon one, you can summon an extra. Sheesh. I think that's too strong. Yeah, I just think that's just too much, I think. I just think that's straight up too much. You can change the spells? Oh. So does that mean that it's good to make the person who's going to use it do work to make it be what it should be based on the subclass? Or do you think it should have the spells that, you know, work with the subclass features you give it? I don't know. I guess you could go either way, really. Oh my god, you're missing the forest for the trees, Lordship. You're missing the forest for the trees. But please keep defending yourself. You seem very clever when you do that. All right, let's see what true druidic form says. You tap into your full animal instincts and learn how to harness nature to its fullest extent. When in animal form, you gain a +2 to your spell save DC. Yeah, this is just numbers go up. I love the idea of a wildlife sorcerer, and I think the idea of giving this wildlife sorcerer a element of wild shape, I think, is a really fun way to build, to make them feel interesting. But I think you forgot two really important things. One is you don't really want the wild shape that you get to be stronger than what druid wild shapes are, which this is. Inherently it is, just by getting so many uses. Like, you don't want the thing that you're being inspired by to be not as good as what you are. And that's medium important. The thing that's really important here, though, and I think the bigger takeaway should be, this shouldn't just feel like a sorcerer that multi-classed into druid, which is kind of what it feels like right now. Like, this should feel unique to wild shape. This should not just be wild shape. They should have some, like, they should feel like a sorcery. They shouldn't feel like a druid. They should feel like a wildlife sorcerer. So I would push you to be like, what can we do? How could we represent druidic wild shape in a genuinely different way? Or what could we give them that would be unique to them, that would capture that feeling? You know, maybe they could, sort of like meta magic, they could do a unique wild shape where they could, like, change parts of their body. You know, they could spend sorcery. Maybe they, instead of it being a thing that they do off of whatever, it's like they send sorcery points to make a bent, like a twisted wild shape or something. I don't know. There's a million directions you could go in, but that would be my main feedback if you were going to keep working on it. I think it's an interesting idea, though. Definitely a fun opposite. Oh, and it's just, like, ridiculously overpowered, but that's okay. It's not that, you know. Rough drafts can be ridiculously overpowered. Anyway, thank you very much, Lordship. And Lordship, just to be clear, what I was saying with the spells, just because somebody has the ability to change the spells into ones that fit better, doesn't mean you shouldn't just give them the spells that fit better to start. Okay. Thank you, thank you. What did you guys think? Was that opposite enough for you? Blood for the blood god? You think the opposite of clockwork is kind of wild magic? I guess that makes sense from, like, the spectrum of order and chaos. But I could see, you know, if you take I see the logic of having clockwork going in the construct direction. Bagadu, 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 bagadu. What do you guys think was going to be next? You guys are out for blood tonight. Alita Battle Angel? It's not how it's spelled, Cinder. Okay, this is going to be the opposite of Swarmkeeper Rangers. Ooh. These people despise hordes and swarms of creatures, with a focus on killing swarms and dealing AoE damage, thus making them the opposite of a Swarmkeeper. So they are a Swarm Smasher. The opposite of the Swarmkeeper, the Swarm Smasher. The Exterminator. Exterminators are adept at dealing with infestations of creatures, be it in urban or natural settings. Though they are most well known for helping out common folk, keeping small creatures from stealing food and causing diseases, there are just as many that defend root forests, reefs, and mountains, blah, 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 blah. This sentence is way too long. But other than that, it's fine. Pest Catcher. At third level. At third level, you gain advantage on all intelligence checks and wisdom checks to recall information about or spot tiny creatures. Oh, that's kind of fun. That's fun. I do think that I would actually probably change this to history. I might, I don't know if I would keep perception in there. I don't know. Because it feels like it would be more, I don't know. Whatever, keep it. Spotting, I feel like often is, investigation, but that's just me. In addition, you learn the snare spell. We don't get a spell list, eh? We just get snare? Okay. We get snare. Snare is the worst spell in the game. I hope we get ways to make it better. It's a fine spell. Snare doesn't capture creatures. Unless I'm misremembering the spell. I totally might be misremembering the spell. I'm misremembering the spell. It does. I was thinking of the one where you have little arrows. Do chat's rules include anything about sharing links? I think you literally are unable to. I don't think you have the physical capability to. You could try. Yeah, I like it just being intelligence. That's just me, though. Cool. All right, so we get Snare, which is better than I thought. And it can capture a creature that is tiny. Cool. Then we also get Permethrin Spray. What a weird word. Starting at third level, you can use a bonus action to spray a toxic gas in an area. Each creature in a 20-foot cone has to make a con save. They take some poison damage, and they become poisoned. A swarm of creatures automatically fails this save. Interesting. How often can we do this? Wisdom modifier times? I don't like that both of our main features are like resource based, and I don't think this does enough damage, but I think it's fun. Like this, I would, because all rangers get an ability to deal a little bit of extra damage consistently. The only ones that really are not consistent with it is the Gloomstalker, and it's based. They can still do it every fight. So I don't know. Maybe this is an okay version of that. I don't know. I don't like that. I would mess around with that a little bit. Like 1d8 damage is a reasonable amount of damage if your goal here is that this is filling the space of the extra damage that the ranger does. But honestly, in that case, I would probably be like, either keep the cone at 20 and lower the damage even more, so that the main thing that you're really doing is your poisoning. Like poisoning in an AoE is really powerful. Because otherwise, I think you got to limit it more than you want to. Then it would be fun. If you could, you'd share the link to docs to enable community to build. So I don't know if people want to do that, Robin. I love the idea that people might want to build something around what you've made, but to be completely honest, you don't want to go into any. You are gonna find yourself bumping into disappointment a lot if you assume that people want to build something around something you made. Most people either want to build something around something that they are a fan, that they're a fan of already, or they want to build something of their own, or they want to build something with people from the ground up. So even if I did allow document sharing so people could edit your document, I don't think it would grow in the way that you'd want. I think if you're excited about writing homebrew or doing homebrew with other people, the way to do that is not to say, hey guys, I made this thing, what do you want to make based off of it? But it's to say, hey guys, I want to start making homebrew with other people. Does anybody want to start, like, you know, building something together? You like the poison spray feature? I'm not against it. I just feel like I don't like both of these being on resources. I want this one to... I want to figure out a way to make it work more like the Gloomstalker, where you can do it just once a fight, consistently. Yeah, this is a bonus action. I figured that this was like a proper word for like the industry. That was what my guess was when it confused me. All right, let's take a look at 7th level. I like the idea though a lot. The tricky thing with this, if you do want to build this out into something that like you feel like that is consistently feeling good and usable, is figuring out how to keep... This is where it's going to be tricky. Keep the AoE, because that's, I would argue, maybe the most important part. And then figuring out how to make it keep the AoE and be medium limited. And if this is the best way to make it medium limited, which I don't think it is, then it could be this. But I think there's probably other ways to do it. And then lean into damage or poison. I don't care which. Okay, toxic protection. By 7th level, you've been exposed to an excess of poison to the point where it rarely affects you. You have resistance to poison damage advantage and all saving throws against the poison condition. I'm gonna tell you what. I saw you in the chat earlier, Sylvan. You're here. So, Sil, listen up. I'm gonna tell it to you straight. I spend a lot of time on this channel telling people when they make stuff that's overpowered. Happens at least 4 or 5 times a stream. It's common. And it's common because we are often building towards our dream. And also in editing, I will say I think it's easier to make things toned down than toned up. This, though, this is not enough for a 7th level. For a ranger, I don't think. I don't think this is strong enough. I would add something here. I'm not sure what, but I think they need something else at 7th level. Rangers really need to say fuck you at every level a little bit. Like the 7th level features aren't the craziest features that rangers get. Usually it's their 11th level and their 3rd level, but resistance to poison damage and advantage on saves against being poisoned is not that exciting. It's not exciting enough. We need another thing. Kapoof. You think this needs a spell list? Do you think this would be better if it didn't have this unique casting of the snare spell? It just had a spell list that the spell snare was on. The problem, though, is if you gave this thing a spell list, is that I would argue half the spells would basically be alternative versions of Permethrin spray. No, here's what I would do if I were you. I mean, you could do a spell list, but maybe we get different types of poisons with this spray that have different debuffs, and maybe at 7th level, the poison gets stronger, or we get more uses of it, or we can add new debuffs. I totally see why you could go in the direction of putting more spells on this, but and maybe I'm guessing, Sil's in the chat, so they can clarify this if they really want to, but the way that I read this, it feels like they wanted this to be the opposite of the Swarmkeeper thematically, mostly, but a little mechanically. So they took the Swarmkeeper... Oh, no, Swarmkeepers do get spells. Don't they? They get a couple. But you decided to give it spells, and that felt like it was done intentionally. I don't know what I'm talking about. Do Swarmkeepers get spells? Now I feel like I'm gaslighting myself. Why do I feel like they don't get spells? They do. Of course they do, right? Why did I think they don't? Why don't I have access to the Swarmkeeper? Okay. We're not playing this game anymore. I don't care. Okay. Let's move on. Let's move on. I'm losing my mind. They do. Okay. Yeah. Don't worry about it. I'm losing my mind. Everything's fine. Potent gas. Now, at 11th level, this is usually the, oh, really? You thought Rangers weren't that cool feature that Rangers get? They certainly get it at 11th if they don't get it at 3rd. But usually they get a little bit of both. Potent gas. We get, our gas becomes a 40-foot cone. We can choose a number of creatures that automatically succeed the save. Oh, that's kind of a nice upgrade. That's a very convenient life upgrade. I'm going to be honest. I don't know if I like this here. I might actually put this at 7 and really lean into potent gas, just making your gas much worse. Stunned. I wouldn't do this. I think this makes it go from like 30 miles an hour to like 400 miles an hour. You want it to go from like 30 miles an hour to like 80. So I probably would add debilitating effects, but I wouldn't go as hard in the paint as stunned. You also have potent gas? Nice. Nice! Beginning at 15th level, we get continuous wrath. You can continue to attack after slaying someone. Once per turn, when you either make a weapon attack against a swarm or an attack that reduces a creature to 0 hit points, you can move and make an additional attack. Sylvan, I'm going to be real honest, man. I'm going to call it like I see it, and there's a lot of fun ideas going around in here. This feels phoned in. This feels like we got to level 15 and we were like, oh wait, we were supposed to be getting more anti-swarm stuff. Oh wait, that's really specific. I guess we'll make it swarm or reduce the creature to 0. Like this, I don't think this fits the rest of the vibe of the subclass, weirdly. That might just be me. Interesting idea. Pretty well executed. Fun opposite. I love the idea of an exterminator ranger as the opposite of a swarm keeper ranger. It's very funny. Very funny. Very funny indeed. All right. Let us give our dear Sylvan / Alita a round of applause. Thank you, thank you. Fun idea. Very fun idea. What do you think of changing the Eldritch Knight and Arcane Trickster to be able to pick their spellcasting stat? I don't feel like that needs to be a main class feature. I think if one of my players wanted to do that, I'd probably be fine with it. But I don't feel strongly about it. I think if you want to keep using the wizard's spell list, it makes sense for it to be intelligence. But I could see arguing using the sorcerer spell list and going charisma. I thought it was a fun idea. I don't know what it means to drop a creature to 0 and make a bunch of low HP minions, because that's not usually how D&D works with fighting swarms, but no worries. You think wisdom or charisma would be a straight up upgrade? I don't disagree, which is why I feel like I would be down for it with my home game, but I don't know if I would like assume it in the rules, because my home players they're weird. In some ways, they're really power gamery, like to an annoying extent, but not really with their character concepts. Like, they genuinely usually come from very earnest places with their character concepts, but they regularly look for ways to use homebrew that I introduce in the game or systems that I introduce to break the game. So I don't think they would take advantage of it in that way, where they'd be like, oh, I'm going to be a wisdom Eldritch Knight so I can be really good at spotting stuff. But I could definitely see a player being like, I want to be a cleric, that I want to take some levels of, Eldritch Knight because I want to become a cleric fighter, but could I do wisdom? and the cleric spells, and I'd just be like, yeah, sure, I don't care, it's fine. They want to have, they want to have a magic weapon or whatever. Totally chill. Bagadu 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 bagadu. Cinder, what's a class you think should be in the game? Recess. Duh. Man. All of these laughs suck. There we go. That one's a little bit better. Yeah, deal with it. Venusian Sun, what you got for us today? Excuse me. Both themed streams. Yours got rolled 3 times on the third. Venusian, I'll be very honest with you. The wheel genuinely goes through moods and has vibes sometimes. So you might just be under its light at this moment. The show magician. Oh, is this an opposite? Yes, it is. The show magician is a counterpart to the arcane trickster. Is this a non-magical arcane trickster? While the arcane trickster casts spells for trickery, the show magician uses trickery to falsify the effect of spells. That's... All right, I like that idea. It's a fun idea. Let's see what we're doing. Interesting take on the opposite. Oh, and use Hero Forge. This is a really good... Okay, so if you're like, whoa, that's a weird looking image. It's kind of cool. The lighting's really nice. Hero Forge, if you are making something that is humanoid shaped, using Hero Forged to do the art for it, to get it to be exactly what you want, is a very good move. That is, everybody should take a little pointer from our dear Venusian. That's a good idea. Because we can all draw, but we can all click different head shapes on Hero Forge, and it don't cost money to just make a picture. That's not true anymore. Kit bashing is out, and you can make very non-humanoids. Ah, okay, I stand corrected. There's less limitations than I thought there were. I don't use Hero Forge that much. Most of my games are played in Theater of the Mind in my home games. Genuinely, the only time I really use Hero Forge these days is when somebody asks me to make a character in it for a one-shot that I'm in. It doesn't happen that much. I'm not in that many one-shots. They don't think I'm that funny. I was in a one-shot with Kate Welch of Acquisitions Incorporated, and she DM'd me on Discord after and told me that she thought I was really funny. And then I thought we were going to be friends, so I started trying to have a conversation with her. And I think I came on too strong because she stopped responding. So I'm just gonna leave that Discord conversation alone for until I have something of pertinence to say. Oh God. All right, let's take a look at this thing. You do not excel at magic. Instead, you excel at tricking people into thinking you do. Good opener. Show magicians trick lowly and weak-minded individuals, and eventually the weave itself into thinking they are casters of spells, yet they are not. You don't need to say this again. Show magicians fake their magic using a variety of tricks, lies, and mind games. Yeah, if you cut this out, I think it works. This sentence is a little bit repeaty what this is, but it's probably okay. Let's see what we get. Oh, we got a quote. I have studied the weave for 50 years or so. I could fake it as much as possible. Wizards stay mad. All right. Let's see what we get at third level. At third level, looks like we get 3 features. Now, there are some subclasses where 3 features is more reasonable than others. Rangers are the ones that get 3 features the most, and often you'll find 2 of them are kind of hidden under the same one. But rogues are another one where you can get away with it so long as none of them are that hectic. And the main reason for it on rangers is because a lot of their class power comes from their subclass, like a little bit more than some of the other ones, in my opinion. Everything is my opinion. And then for rogues, I think really it's because they don't get another subclass feature until level 9. They have to wait from 3 to 9 before they get anything else. So you got to shove it in. Got to make it count. All right, let's see what we get. Escape Artist. When you choose this archetype at 3rd level, you have advantage on sleight of hand checks when attempting to escape restraints. This does not apply to organic restraints, such as creatures grappling you. I might even, like, what would this mean in terms of, like, spells? That's what I would be curious about. I feel like maybe I would say this sentence would make me assume no, but unclear. All right, this is a ribbon feature. It's fine. We're not counting it for too many PowerPoints. Fraudulent Weave. Starting at 3rd level, you learn how to falsely mimic the effects of spells. Choose 3 cantrips from the reasonably able to non-magically cast list. That name. You use your charisma as your casting modifier. Makes sense. You must have a component pouch to perform these false spells, and you can choose to forego any or all components. You know what I might do here? This is so... I'm gonna keep reading, because you might end up actually putting it in here later. Okay. They can't be affected by dispel magic, anti-magic stuff. Okay. And then you just get a handful of cantrips. Interesting. And then at 3rd level, you can apply your sneak attack to your fake cantrips. On a successful attack roll, you can use your bonus action to make a deception check or performance check contested by their insight. On a success, add twice your charisma modifier to the damage roll. Wait, what? I'm a little confused. Are we adding our sneak attack damage? Or are we adding twice our charisma modifier? The impression that I get is that we're doing this, and you just meant that we are applying a sneak attack element to that, but I think you need to clarify that. It definitely shouldn't be both if it's both. Yeah, because sneak attack, getting to do sneak attack on top of a cantrip is already very strong. So I would not have it do both. The thing that I was going to say, I have 2 thoughts immediately, not to push too hard against this idea, because I do really like this idea. I like being able to use deception versus insight to get sneak attack on a creature that you wouldn't normally have it on. I think that makes sense. I feel like we shouldn't... Chat, if this might be one of those things where I'm being stubborn, and I don't actually think it's a big deal, but I do feel it, and I feel like when I feel something, I should share it. I don't think if our goal is making a magician that isn't really doing magic rogue, that we should express that fake magic by literally just doing cantrips. Like, sure, we're saying they're not because they're not affected by these things, but I almost would prefer it if we had like almost like a tinkerer list of like like little tricks or things, you know? I don't know. I feel like I really like the idea of a magician rogue, but this magician rogue is just gonna be a magic user, you know? All right, let's see what we get at 9th level. Hocus Pocus. They wouldn't be affected by counterspell, no, as mentioned in the document. Here, you can take a look at it yourself if you want to also. Why isn't Prestidigitation on this list? I don't know. That's another good question. Prestidigitation is literally the magic trick spell. That's a good call. All right, let's take a look at 9th level. At 9th level, you gain the ability to vanish into not very thin air. As an action, you can expel a 15-foot cube of smoke. It lasts for 1 minute. Any creatures inside the smoke other than you have disadvantage on perception checks that rely on sight. They're already going to have that because they're blinded. You start your turn inside the puff of smoke. You're under the effects of invisibility, in addition to the normal conditions of invisibility being removed. What does that mean? That's a confusing sentence. Do you mean that you count as invisible, but you can make attacks and stuff and you don't lose it? I think that's what you mean. It's a weird way of writing that. Don't write it like that. Leaving the smoke ends the invisibility effect. You can use this feature an amount of times equal to your rogue level. Getting a feature amount of times equal to your rogue level is too many. It should be equal to your proficiency bonus or your charisma modifier. Being able to do this 9 times would be crazy. That would be completely insane. Like, think about it like this. You're getting essentially the spell Fog Cloud and a minor version of the spell Invisibility, but it's sort of better than the spell Invisibility because it doesn't require concentration. You can't drop it, even though it's limited in space. So it sort of balances out a little bit. So let's say that it's not a 2nd level spell power. Let's say it's a 1.5 level spell power. So at 9th level, we essentially can cast a 2.5 level spell 9 times. Because we can cast a Fog Cloud and a 1.5 version of invisibility. So getting access to a 2.5 level spell 5 times or 9 times is a lot. Man, I am a little bit. It's just not the direction I thought we were going to go in with getting spells. Yeah, we get blind sight. Yeah, that's true. You already have the invisible condition if you're in a cube of smoke. That's true. Yeah, you could just drop all of that. There's a lot of redundancy here, actually, I think. But it's still 9 is too many. Starting at 13th level, the only difference for the smoke thing is, no, I think any creature that could see through smoke probably could see invisible too. So I take it back. It's still like a 1st level spell 9 times, which is a lot. What did I think it was going to be? I thought it was going to be a rogue that had like Battlemaster type maneuvers or gadgets that had like effects. I don't know. I just didn't expect it to be so close. I didn't expect them to rely on the mechanics of spellcasting. You can do that. I'm not saying that that's the wrong thing to do. It just was unexpected. Starting at 13th level, you gain a +5 to deception and performance checks when there are 4 or more creatures who hear and understand within 80 feet of you. This is too tedious. This is too tedious to keep track of. Come up with a simpler version and manage that. Also, we don't need a +5 and then advantage. That's like a hat on a hat. It's too much. Also, we shouldn't be doing extra sneak attack damage at this level. I'm going to be honest, I would say the idea of you being better at stuff when there's a crowd around is great. I do not think this is a good mechanical representation of that. I would go square one. I would cut the whole thing out. Keep the idea that, like, you know what I would do? How about this? Maybe copy like the Glamour Rogue or the Glamour Bard. If you make a deception or performance check contested by 4 or more creatures, you cannot roll lower than some amount of pick some number you can't roll lower than. You can't roll lower than a 10. Something like that. And yeah, the extra damage is just a little too much. Normally the where we put extra damage is the capstone. Capstone is where rogues get their damage pump. Starting at 17th level, you gain the ability to trick the weave into neutralizing the effects of magic and curses. You can falsely mimic the effects of some spells. Oh, this should just be the 13th level feature. Just make this the 13th level feature. And make this extra damage shenanigans the 17th. Just switch these. And then get rid of this weird bonus stuff. We don't need it. Interesting. I would not have gone in the direction of essentially giving you quote-unquote non-magical versions of spells to represent represent the opposite of an arcane trickster. But I think it's a fun idea, and I think the theme is super interesting. I think it would be cool to have a feature that says if you get the help action for an attack, you gain blah, blah, blah. The version of... I've seen a version of a magician rogue before, a long time ago, and they had a third level feature that essentially allowed them to cast Prestidigitation to get access to their sneak attack that I thought was pretty interesting. Anyway, thank you very much, Venusian Sun. Let's give them a round of applause. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Oh, definitely functional. The only reason why I'm commenting so much on the spellcasting was because it just genuinely caught me off guard. And I have a hard time hiding my feelings. They don't, you know, they don't usually mean anything that hectic, though. Thief works, but it lacks an item option and scaling. Thief is... The 2014 Thief struggles a lot. As a dungeon master, you can do some things to make it feel a lot better to play. Thieves in the 2014 rulebook have the bonus action object interaction. And if you kind of push the boundary of what that can mean, they can feel really good. But a lot of their features really struggle to feel good. You could cast these as a barbarian while raging. I mean, to be fair, it's not that much, right? Like, it's cantrips or a couple counterspelly type spells. I guess those would be good, but that's still, you wouldn't be getting those until like the highest of levels. When you only have one wheel, why don't you use the one that has your face? Old habits die hard. This wheel feels, you know, it's not the nicest car in the lot, but she's kept the family safe for a while. What do you got for us today, my dear Spaghetti-O? Ooh, another ranger. This is the opposite of the hunter ranger. The hunted ranger. Instead of actively pursuing a target, this ranger is actively trying to get away. You know what? This was a bit of a speed brew for me, but I'm delighted to see how short it is. Cool. I'm excited to show it. Chat, remind me afterwards. I want to show you something, because I would argue that there might already be the hunted ranger subclass. Let's see what spells we get. For one reason or another, you are actively being pursued by a powerful hunter who you've not yet equipped to face. You have stayed alive, blah, blah, blah. Okay, cool. You're running away. Expeditious retreat, pass without a trace, feign death, greater invisibility, anti-life shell. Pretty solid. If I submit one, will it go on the wheel? It will. Just make sure you follow the instructions. No, I'll tell you right now, the one that I think is closer mechanically to a running away ranger is the scout. The Scout Ranger, not exactly, but it has a lot of features that are like get away. How come I can see the Swarm Keeper now, but I can't see the Scout? It's like, what is happening in my computer? I have no idea. Oh, Scout is a rogue. Scout is a rogue. Scout is a rogue. Scout is a rogue. Fuck you. Fuck you specifically. All right. Let's take a look at what we get. Once per turn, when you take the dash, disengage, dodge, or hide actions, you gain one of the following benefits. Get movement speed bonus, advantage on your next dex thing. This is not... This is a tricky feature because this is a feature that is basically saying you should multi-class into Rogue if you want this to be good. Because if I multi-class into Rogue, I can do these things as a bonus action, and to do those things as a bonus action and get that is a lot. Also, we get Fleeing Strike. Once per turn, when you hit a creature with an attack, you deal extra damage to them, provided you have moved at least 10 feet away from the target since your last turn. I think you need a little bit more of a gameplay loop to make this work, because we don't have... Because you're sort of creating a situation where, like, we don't have a good way to do this. Like, either we're actively engaging in this feature and we're using our action instead of attacking to do these things, which is not advantageous enough to really, these aren't worth that. Or you're like standing 50 feet away and you just move 10 feet forward and then 10 feet back. So it's kind of, it's like, you know what I mean? I think it's an interesting idea, but I think it needs a little bit more thinking. A little bit more thinking. Let's take a look at 7th level. When a creature misses you with an attack, you can use your reaction to move up to your speed away from the attacker without provoking opportunity attacks. This feels like a very similar thing to a Scout Rogue also. You can use this reaction a number of times equal to your Wisdom modifier. Cool. I mean, it's fine. It's a fine feature. Level 11, Praise Retaliation. When a creature deals damage to you, you are empowered to defend yourself against it. Till the end of your next turn, you can deal your Fleeing Strike damage. Don't remember what that is. That's this. On each attack you make, not just once per turn. This is a lot of words to say. If a creature deals damage to you, you just deal a d8 damage on all of your attacks the next round. I would just say that instead. 'Cause that's basically what it is. At 15th level, we get Master Evader. What's up, Ad? How's it going, buddy? Dude, I had the craziest past like 24 hours. Not even exciting crazy, just like technical issue crazy. As a bonus action, I was like, I think I slept like 8 hours in the past 2 days. Maybe a little less. Not enough. Maybe 7. Wait, I don't get it. We are making opposite versions of subclasses or evil subclasses for classes. You are making either opposite subclasses or evil versions of classes. Either one. Yeah, dude, I know. It's not great. I'm gonna try. Hopefully tonight will be the first night back into a normal sleep schedule. We'll see. Let's see what this capstone is. As a bonus action, you can take 2 of the actions listed in your flight feature. Yeah, this feels a little underbaked. Spag, I think there's some interesting ideas here, but I think you rely too much on this feature. And this feature, I don't think is super interesting. And I think by relying on it for your 2 upper level features, you kind of shoot yourself in the foot a little bit. I would play around a little bit more with, like, sort of similar to what I would say if you were going to be making like a dragon hunter ranger. You wouldn't give it all features that directly tied to dragon hunting. You would give it features that tied to things that were good for dragon hunting, like, you know, being good against elemental damage, or being good against flying creatures, or good against AoE effects. Those would all be really good on an anti-dragon ranger. I would say the same thing here. Outside of these opening features, I also don't think this one works. Outside of these opening features, like, what would a ranger need to be good at running away? And just give them those things. Interesting idea. Definitely needs to bake a little bit longer. All right. Let's give Spag a round of applause. Thank you, buddy. Kaboosh. Kerpunk. Kaplow. Let's see, did we get any new submissions? We did. Kabunk. Yeah, very cool idea. Very cool idea for sure. All of the ideas so far have been pretty cool. When we started stream, I had chat vote to decide if somebody didn't follow the prompt, would we still read it or not? Because I skimmed them, and some people, I think, kind of didn't follow the prompt. And the overwhelming majority said we should skip them if they didn't feel like they really followed the prompt of making like the opposite of a specific subclass or an evil version of a specific subclass. But so far, everyone we spun has done it in an interesting way. You appreciate the underbaked subclasses more than the overbaked ones? Well, they're still full of potential, you know? I also think that when something is still a little underbaked, it doesn't feel as bad to cut half of it away. Because it's like, you know, you didn't spend hours on it. That being said, just because you spend hours on something doesn't mean you should keep it. There's like a false equivalency that people think that people get with the amount of time they spend on something, meaning that it's worth keeping. But that is often what leads to weird things being in books and stories and things that just don't need to be there. Bagadoo, 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 bagadoo. Sunken cost fallacy. That's the term. Bagadoo, bagadoo. I said some false version of that. Aaron or Clifford? I think it's Aaron. Yeah, it's Aaron. Aaron. This is an evil Psi Knight. Basically a Sith. So this is the Dark Psi Warrior. Cool. That's a fun one to do the evil version of. Let's see how different it is. Dominating our enemies with lightning strikes, telekinetic binds. Oh yeah, we really are going Sith Lord. Okay, let's see. Are these the same? Psionic dice equal to twice our proficiency bonus. These look like these are the same. All right. Same here. Okay, yeah, cool. Okay, let's see what the new features we get are. I think it's stock art because it says Dreamstime across the front. So I think it's stock art. That's what my guess is. Destructive Field. When an enemy you can see within 30 feet of you takes damage, you can use your reaction to expend a psi die and deal lightning damage equal to the number rolled plus your intelligence modifier as you emit psychic electricity. Who are you dealing it to? Oh, the enemy. So if an enemy takes damage, you make it take more damage. I mean, that's pretty mean. That's pretty evil. Psionic Bind. As an action, you can cripple enemies with psionic force. Once on each of your turns, you can expend a die to force a target that you can see within 20 feet to make a save. On a failed save, it's considered grappled till the end of your next turn, and you deal either lightning or force damage to it equal to the number rolled plus your intelligence modifier. I would go strength here, not con. Constitution is more like your physical ability to endure something. Strength is more like you pushing back against a force. I also might go a little lower on the damage, but that's just me. Telekinetic movement. And I think this is just the same. Yeah, this one's just the same. These are fun alternative versions, though. We don't get the psionic strike or the little shield thing. We punch you while you're sad. And as an action, oh, it's a whole action. I didn't realize it was a whole action. I'm sorry. Yeah, no. It should totally do this damage. I'm sorry. I missed the action. I thought it was part of an attack. What's up, Chandler? The lightning is here. Lightning damage. Lightning damage. We got it. In the words of Dispatch, there's lightning on the ceiling. Maybe 2 of you got that reference. I'm so old. By 7th level, you have mastered new ways to use your telekinetic abilities, detailed below. You're sleepy? I'm sleepy too. I've been sick and had some like tech shenanigans going on, and I didn't sleep much the last 2 days, so I'm a little sick too. We tie together, my guy. Hey, Trodosio, man after my own heart. All right, let's see what we get here. We get the Psi Leap. I think that's just the same as it was before, and then we get Telekinetic Throw. When you grapple a target with your bind, let me just make sure this doesn't do something different. No, okay. You can force them to make a strength saving throw. If they fail, you can knock the target prone or move it up to 10 feet in any direction. I like it. If I was going to say anything, I would say give us a little lightning at the end of the leap. When you land, everything within 5 feet of you takes lightning damage equal to your intelligence modifier or something. Just a little. Just a little. I don't think that would make it feel unreasonable. Maybe it would. Maybe it would to you, audience. You foolish hooligans. You deviant plesiopods. Guarded mind. 10th level. Our mind is guarded. I think this is the same. Psionic Fury. At 15th level, use a bonus action to unleash a wellspring of psionic power for 1 minute or until you are incapacitated. You can use your Psychic Bond feature without expending die. I would change the way I wrote this sentence. I would say without expending a psionic energy die. And then I might say you still roll the damage as normal as a separate sentence. I think that will, even though it'll be a little wordier, I think that'll actually read better. I think we should also probably need to expend more than one psionic die to keep this going. One die to be able to do this for a minute, I think, is too much. I like it though. And then we get telekinesis. This is an interesting. So who sent this one in? So Aaron did something which I think is a totally reasonable way to handle this challenge, especially if you're going to make an evil version of a subclass that already exists, which is they didn't change everything. And I don't think you need to. They kept the stuff that would make sense for the evil one to have as much as the good one. They kept the jump. They kept the telekinesis. I do think that if I were going to be building this, I actually would not do telekinesis at 18 because you kind of give us what telekinesis does with the throw and the bind. Like, we kind of already get telekinesis. So because of that, I might actually go in a different direction for the 18, and I might give you like some massive AoE lightning move. Like maybe you can cast, maybe it's literally just a once a day casting of chain lightning, you know? You are playing a revamped version of the chocolate vampire. That is amazing. What subclass would I recommend? Do you want to lean into the vampire or the chocolate? Or do you want to just make it more confusing? Answer me. Say, I want more chocolate, I want more vampire, or I want more confusing. And I will give you feedback based on what you are looking for. But Aaron, this is pretty cool. Pretty solid. Also, really, really fun, simple way of making an evil version of a subclass. Taking the things that are kind of good or neutral, making them evil. Taking the stuff that are neutral and make sense on everywhere, keeping them. Chocolate, but you like the confusing part. And are you sure you want to be a wizard? Because if I was going to go chocolate, I'll tell you the first thing that popped into my head was the Forge Cleric. You know? Because Forge Clerics have the ability to make things magic, so you could, like, chocolateify things. And that could be you imbuing them with magic. And then all your heat metal spells and stuff could be you, like, heating up chocolate. But if I was going to pick a wizard... God, what wizard would be a chocolate vampire? I don't think it should be Necromancer. I don't think it should be Conjuration, even though part of me feels like it should. Illusion is 2 Vampire. Enchantment is 2 Vampire. Blade Singer doesn't really fit either, because Blade Singer is more like Cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, you know? Like the chocolate, the Count doesn't go into a mode. He's just the Count. Transmutation. Transmutation. Yeah, transmutation. Turning things into chocolate. Makes sense. Or abjuration for chocolate armor could also work. Anyway, those are my thoughts. Thank you very much, Aaron, for sharing your piece. On the nights where we do a homebrew challenge, we just do one wheel because we don't get that many submissions. We have the member wheel and the open wheel on the big submission nights, which are every Sunday, and then usually or occasionally, this week we weren't able to, but usually another day of the week as well. Excuse me. You just submitted something? All right, I'll add you. Oh, we got a couple things. Kapow! Kaboom! Bagadoo, 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 bagadoo. This is a fun one, huh? We got a lot of people showing up for this one. Got 150 people watching across Twitch and YouTube. That's pretty cool. Peanut butter. What you got for us, peanut butter? You got some jelly? I chose to make the opposite of the arcane archer. The mundane archer. Thematically, it's thematically opposite as a fighter that detests magic weapons. And you want... Okay, I'm not going to give you as harsh feedback as you are specifically saying you want here, because that's not really the goal of these streams. But I will tell you if I think something's jank. I will be very honest about that. They left a little note saying that they want the feedback. I like the art choice. The key to making the mundane archer, I think, distinct is making it in a way that it feels like it needs to exist, as opposed to just playing a ranged battle master. Mundane archer is a master of single weapon. Lifelong study with this weapon has granted them exceptional skills. They can often be found taking part in archery tournaments. However, this dedication has caused many of them to loathe magic weapons. I wouldn't focus so much on them honing a single weapon. I would maybe focus on them honing archery specifically. I guess that's what you're sort of saying here. It feels like you're saying a literal weapon, though, not like a type of weapon. Also, I don't know what your goal is for your brew, but you did say you want real feedback, so I will just give it. Everything about the way this is formatted, from the fonts to the colors to the layout on the page to the symbols that you're using for indenting, it makes the document read like a video game manual from the early 1990s. Like, it doesn't feel kind of, I don't know if that's important. Like, some people might like that, some people might not, but that's what it feels like. And if you want it to feel more modern, you should look at the way modern homebrew writing is done, in terms of using 2 columns and using a little bit more, I don't want to say softer, but yeah, kind of softer fonts. You love the look? Yeah, it's not a bad look. It's worth acknowledging that. Like, it is, if you are not intending it to look like an old school video game manual, you should know that that is what it looks like. If you are intending it to look like an old school video game manual, I think you are accomplishing your goal. Let's see what we get at third level. We get 2 features, lifelong training and trick shooting. You feel like you're being tasked with looking at the piracy protection password? You love it? Yeah, it's a vibe. It's a vibe. People are gonna feel a lot of feelings about it in different directions. I think most people will be down with it if it feels like it earns itself. And I think the art helps a lot here too. Okay, at third level, your decades of practice have granted you mastery over your weapon of study. Have. Decades is more than one thing. It's decades. Choose one type of ranged weapon. It becomes your chosen weapon, and you gain the following benefits. Your weapon deals damage. Its die increases. Its damage die becomes a D10. It scores on a crit. Its range becomes this. Huh. I'm gonna be honest. I don't know if I like this feature. It feels weird. Like, yeah, it's sort of like you get a better version of the Champion Barbarian's third level feature, but limited to one weapon. I don't know if I like that. It's not really Champion, but better, because Champion get a crit increase from 19 to 20 on anything. Champion Fighter, you know what I mean. They get it on range also. They get it on anything. They just score a 19 or a 20, gets them a crit. So this limits that to range, but now makes your all of your ranged attacks work as a heavy crossbow, basically. That's what these 2 features do. And I just don't know if that makes sense. Like I would say this feels like a magic item more than I would make it a subclass feature. It's very limiting. We also get Trick Shot. You've spent years entertaining crowds with your feats of accuracy and could easily shoot an apple off someone's head. Advantage on ranged attacks against objects. That's kind of fun. And you're proficient with performance. That's fun. And you can use dex for performance. This is great. I love this. This is a fantastic feature. All right, let's take a look at 7. Yeah, it's just good. By 7th level, you have heard stories of terrifying creatures that... Oh my god. Just tell me what it does. Alright. Whenever you hit with a ranged attack roll made with a non-magic weapon of your chosen weapon type, you can forgo rolling damage to apply one of the following effects. Each one requires a saving throw. Target has to make a strength save or be grappled. It can repeat the save at the end as an action. Target has to make a con save or be blinded. Target has to make a dex save or fall prone. Yeah, so you're doing the thing that I was a little worried you were gonna do, which is, my initial question was, how do we make this thing not just an alternative version of a Battle Master? And that's kind of what this is turning into now. Like, this is an amazing third level feature. This, I feel like, kind of misses. It just sort of limits the gameplay, I think, in a way that I don't think it's going to be super fun. And the thing that it gives us isn't particularly unique or flavorful. It's just numbers go up. And then these are all things that we can do with Battle Master maneuvers. So we're just kind of getting Battle Master maneuvers. So I would be wary of that. I might lean into more trick shot type stuff if I were you. And like, if you want to do some trick shot things like this, I think you can. But you got to be real thoughtful about not just accidentally just giving us Battle Master maneuver features. Yeah, Joseph, you don't need to rush to make your homebrew, my guy. Like, first of all, I understand being a procrastinator. I am one. But these challenge nights where we're doing themed homebrew, I don't really expect people to make homebrew for the stream during the stream. It's hard. That's why I give you guys, try to let you know a week ahead of time what we're doing. And I usually let people know in the Discord and on the YouTube. Because it's hard to make a themed homebrew really quickly. You know, people usually have a little bit of homebrew they've made already that they can just sort of grab and send for the open homebrew nights. But yeah, I don't usually expect the wheel to grow too much on these nights. Don't rush yourself. And if you ended up, you find out you didn't like the idea, great. Don't worry about it. But if you do like the idea, keep working on it. You know, you don't need you shouldn't be building it for me. You should be building it because you're having fun making something, or because you want to grow as a writer, or because you want to do something crazy at your gaming table. You know, have the potential of me reading it be a weird, gross icing on an otherwise perfect cake that it doesn't really need. Let's see what we get at 10th level. At 10th level, if you've taken damage from a melee attack since the end of your last turn, you can take the disengage action as a bonus action. Huh, that's kind of, that's simple. What do we think? I think that's fairly elegant. Kind of just works. I feel fine with it. It's very, it's very slice of rogue. What do we get at 15th? You gain the following benefits whenever you're wielding your weapon of choice. Again, you really just don't want to be punishing a fighter for not using a magic weapon. We get an extra attack. We get more action surges if we crit. Yeah, because they're just numbers go up. All of this is just numbers go up. Like, this one is probably the most interesting one. Everything else is just kind of numbers go up. I would be wary of leaning into just numbers go up too much. You want a little bit of numbers go up, but you already did it like more than once. We don't need it more than once. You know how to make the most out of every shot you take. At 18th level, when you make a ranged attack, you can choose 2 targets. I think that's going to be really annoying. I don't think you should be able to this doubles all of your attacks. I think this is going to be genuinely annoying to do at the table. Like, so many dice rolls. But also, I think maybe too strong. Unless I'm misreading it. This isn't once per turn. This is all attacks are doubled. It's an interesting idea. I think if I were you, I would pull away from deciding that you had to not use magic weapons. That's what I would say. Just because it's the mundane archer, but there's so many ways to be the mundane archer, Connor. Like, it's you know, I would argue the battle master fighter is a mundane fighter. There's literally nothing about them that is magical. They are the definition of a mundane, non-magical character. You know? They do a lot of cool, crazy stuff. That isn't just numbers go up. They also don't limit you to not using magic weapons. You feel it is designed to be boring? I feel like you are either trolling or being a little bit disingenuous when you say that. All right. Thank you very much, Peanut Butter. Also, kind of rude. Maybe unintentionally. So just, you know, watch yourself, bud. All right. Thank you very much. Peanut Butter. Peanut Putter, excuse me. Pick her wheel. I hardly know her wheel. We are so stupid. You know what's the stupidest thing? Do you know what's actually the stupidest thing? As stupid as that joke is, it legitimately brings me joy whenever you make that joke. You know? You didn't mean to be rude. You meant to say, meant to not have anything too crazy. Yeah, but you said meant to be boring. You know, the reasonable misunderstanding. Cinder, I submitted my Oath of the Ebengard a while ago. I've improved upon it and have started to play it in a campaign. I'd like to resubmit it Sunday for a review. We do not do resubmissions. If I have already reviewed it once, I will not review it again. But you can share it in the Discord and get feedback from other people if you want. But if I haven't reviewed it, I'll take a look at it. If I have reviewed it, here's the thing. There's a bunch of reasons why I don't like doing re-reviews. There's not just two. There's an infinite number of reasons. The main ones that come to mind are if I feel like you didn't follow advice that I gave you, like if I see something that I didn't like before and it's still there, I'm going to get frustrated. I'm going to get very frustrated. Not because you need to listen to me, but because if you're not going to listen to me, then I don't want to then why am I giving you feedback? And I don't want you to feel like you have to listen to me, and I don't want to feel like you have to listen to me. But if I told you that the 3rd level feature is completely broken, and then you re-edited a bunch of other features but didn't change the 3rd level feature, I'm going to be like, cool, you didn't fix it. And that's all I'll really have to say. The other thing that happens is that sometimes people change their homebrew enough that the feedback I give is in many ways contradictory the second time around to the first feedback I give. And that makes people get upset with me. So I don't want to get upset with you, and I don't want you to get upset with me. Also, the third reason is that I am not your editor, and I do not want to feel like your editor. This is a show that I do. You know, if you want to hire me to be your editor, that's another conversation. You can send me an email. But that's a completely different thing. So you send it once, we make it a part of the show, we talk about it, we give it a goof and a gaff and try to give it some feedback, and then we move on. How much? You can if you're asking honestly, you can 100% send me an email. My business email is connected to my YouTube. Bagadu 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 bagadu. Kaputnik. Hello from South Africa. I can count to 10 in a South African accent. This is a bard from the perspective of non-bards. The smug know-it-all. It has cannibalized mechanics from the College of Lore, Eloquence, and Creation. What is it the opposite of? I don't understand. Kaputnik. Chat, did Kaputnik follow the instructions? Or did you just make a bard? I'm confused. I don't think you followed the instructions, my guy. But it's not, but the evil what? Like, it's not the opposite of any subclass. But they didn't tell me. Like, that's the whole thing, is I very specifically said, what subclass is this the opposite of, and why is it the opposite? They said it has cannibalized mechanics from College of Lore, Eloquence, and Creation. I don't think it fits the theme. But I don't even care. It's not even evil. Evil is not enough. It has to be tied to a specific subclass. That was the whole point. So the whole point of this was that we are we being pedantic? You missed the beginning of Stream Noble, where I told chat that a lot of people didn't follow the instructions that clearly, and I had chat vote to decide if we should skip those people or not. And out of the 150 some people in chat across YouTube and Twitch, only 3 said we should not skip them. Everyone else said we should skip them. So I think, unfortunately, you didn't really follow the theme, my guy. Let me read the flavor text, and we'll see if it feels like it's the opposite of a specific subclass. But if it's not, I think we skip it. Before the first argument, there was oversight. Bards of the College of Pedantry wield power through smug remarks. Yeah, this isn't. Unfortunately, I think this is a did not follow the prompt. But we do love you. We think you're wonderful. Remember, when we do homebrew challenges, it's a challenge. There's a specific thing you got to do. You got to follow the instructions. Them be the rules. But we do still love you. We do still think you're wonderful. And if you want to resubmit this one on a regular night, I will happily take a look at it. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Kaboosh. Yes, if you did not make an evil version of or the opposite version of a specific subclass, you unfortunately did not follow the prompt. Bug it, a 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 bug it. But it's okay. It's okay, man. We do this every week. We all mess up. Everybody messes up. It's not the end of the world. Oh, Gem by a nose. Gem just stole that from Kip. You spell it however you want. Just don't spell it late for dinner. This is the opposite of the Redemption Paladin. It is the opposite both flavorfully and partially mechanically. The Redemption Paladin. All right, let's take a look. What? Let's guess. What is the opposite of redemption? Punishment? Justice? Judgment? Do you think it's judgment? Consequence? What do you guys think it's going to be? Corruption. Oh my God, that makes so much more sense. Oh, that makes so much more sense than anything I just said. Yeah, I hear ya. I pick up what you put down. The oath of corruption is the whisper of vice in the ear of the saint and the scream of desire in the mind of the abstinent. Oh my God. Shut up. Take me to Sunday school with that opener. That's a good opener. Paladins that dedicate themselves to this oath believe that all people are inherently self-serving and fall from grace is inevitable. This is good flavor text. These paladins forswear virtue, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Only feedback. Reasonable length, but long sentence. Reasonable length, but long sentence. Reasonable length, but full of interesting words that make it feel long sentence. So while all of this is fine, if somebody is reading your work that has a propensity for not liking a lot of long sentences, which I think is probably 30 to 50% of people, it's not all of them, this is going to feel like a lot, but it's also fine. So you got to kind of decide which, ain't no wrong answer there. Born of sin. All people have and also any of these sentences are totally fine in isolation. The only thing that makes them feel like they are a lot is that they're all next to each other. It's like you can have a really good piece of steak, but if you have 3 really good pieces of steak back to back to back, the third one you probably aren't going to enjoy as much as the first one. I don't think a line break is going to be it. I think that we will still feel the weight of those sentences. But that's very much opinion. Like, some people love writing like this. And if you are somebody that likes, like Jem is saying, you're fond of a dense sentence, dude, some people like this. Some people like this. It might just be your writing style. But I will say, and I do not mean this harshly, like at the beginning of stream, do you remember when I was like, I have a hard time reading because I'm very picky about the type of writers that I like. Like, I really struggle to read books that are written like this just because I need a little bit of a bounce and a wiggle. The only time I can really read a book that is really dense, like stupidly dense, is when there is such a mountain of peer pressure or cultural pressure for me to read it that I feel like it's an obligation. Okay, sorry. But if you like it, dude, just do it. Because it is fine. It's just opinion. All people have a propensity towards evil, and he can be swayed from the path of altruism. The only way to banish temptation is to yield it. These are fun. Those that decree immortality loudest are often possessed by the most corruption. These are really fun tenets, dude. This is fun. What spells do we get? Charm, command person, charm. I read those backwards. Phantasmal force, crown of madness, antagonize, enemies abound, compulsion, greater invisibility. Why do we get greater invisibility? Charm monster, modify memory. I'm wondering if there's something that would feel better here. This is are these third? What level spell is this? Fourth? This is the only thing that I'm like, I don't think this should be here. If there are any spells that do any sort of like physical corruption, like a contagion type spell, or a touch damaging spell, or a poisoning type spell, I would maybe see if I could pop one of those in for this. I think Blight is 5th level. I don't think it's 4th. It might be. I don't even think Blight would be good here. Like, I don't love Blight here, but I do think it fits more thematically. If you like greater invisibility here, keep it. It's also really fucking strong on a paladin, though, so just think about that. It sits in the same power space as, like, haste on a paladin. Which is, again, you can do it, but it's punchy. Yeah, this is the opposite of Oath of Redemption. This is Oath of Corruption. We get 2 channeled divinities, Emissary of Vice and Rebuke the Faithful. You can use your channel divinity, what is it? Bonus action, give yourself +5 to persuasion checks for 10 minutes. Huh. I might... Should we limit it to persuasion? I feel like if we're trying to peer pressure people, we want to have the full rainbow of peer pressure at our disposal, right? Like, don't we want to have intimidation and deception too? Like, those are some of the best ways to get people to do stuff that they don't want to do. I think this could work. What I might do if I were you was I might change it in one of 2 ways. If I was gonna put this in my game, this might be fine as is. If anybody's looking at this +5 to charisma and is like Hachi Mama, then here's how you fix that. You do it in one of 2 ways. You either make it more like guided strike, where it's not on all checks for 5 minutes, 10 minutes. It's on 1 check, but you make it a +10. So you can give yourself, when you make a charisma check, you can expend your use of your channel divinity to give yourself a +10 on that check, and that's all it does. Or you make it where you activate it and it's on for 10 minutes like this, but instead of it giving you a +5 to your charisma, you treat it almost like reliable talent or whatever that ability is, where if you roll lower, a 9 or lower on any charisma checks, that roll counts as a 10. I would say those are the 2 directions I would go in if you were like, I don't like this like this. But if you like this like this, and I think it's probably fine. It's going to be a little strong. I saw some people in the chat being like 10 minutes. Maybe it's too long. My guess is that Gemjar's thought process here was you regularly, well, very much actually irregularly, which is why it's tricky, but depending on your dungeon master, sometimes you have to make 4 different charisma checks in one conversation, as opposed to 1 to represent the conversation. That's what my guess is for why this is like this. It is the exact same feature as the Redemption Paladin, though. Well, I think it's worth tweaking a little bit. And we also talked about this. I think that when you're making an evil version of one, it's okay to make it weirdly the same where it's applicable as the same. It's just the word for word Redemption Paladin. Yeah, somebody else said that too. Well, listen, guys. I'm never going to claim that Wizards of the Coast is better at doing game design than you are, okay? The reason why we have to abide by Wizards of the Coast isn't because they are the best game designers. It's because they are the accepted basis of the game. We have to accept them as the universal base of the game if we are trying to have a barometer to balance homebrew collectively, or trying to have a barometer for balancing homebrew that we're sharing publicly. That's really it. But at the end of the day, there are a lot of people here that I am sure are coming up with more clever ideas than they are. So even though this is what is officially in the rules, it doesn't surprise me that a lot of people were like, I don't know if I like that feature as is, because you guys, especially people that are watching this show for a while, you are thinking critically. You're thinking editorially. You know, you're thinking about how can we what not just what do we have, but what does that imply about the game, and what could we give it as an alternative that might feel better or help fill out that feeling more? I don't know. So, you know, sure, it might be in the game. Does it mean it's the best version of itself? Ice cream sandwiches. Who's to say? Is this the same too, but the opposite? As an action, choose a creature within 30 feet of you. Why can't I? Okay, there we go. As an action, choose a creature within 30 feet of you. Whenever a creature causes another creature to gain hit points, or grants another creature temporary hit points using that ability, I have to make a wisdom saving throw. This is really... This is hard. This one's tricksy, my guy. Because how many creatures do that? Not a lot. There's not a lot of creatures that give other creatures hit points or give creatures temporary hit points. So I might go in a different direction. I might make it so, like, you can make it so a creature cannot gain hit points or, like, gain the benefits of positive things. I don't know how I would word that, but, like, almost like you could mark a creature and any positive spells on them turn off. They, like, can't use their boons or magic items, or they lose access to some element of themselves. Like, you're, like, diminishing them. Just because that's going to be really hard to pull off. Like, you're not going to get that many uses of it. And, like, we don't get that many, especially on a paladin, we don't get that many subclass features. Like, we get channel divinities, we get an aura, maybe if the game goes that long, and then we never get to level 15. That's called being a paladin. So, like, you really want both of these to be things that the players are going to pretty actively be able to decide to use. Maybe not every session, but almost every session. Aura of Acrimony. At 7th level, when a creature fails a saving throw against one of your spells or abilities, all creatures within 10 feet of you have advantage on attack roll. Let me read that again. When a creature fails a saving throw against one of your spells or abilities, okay. All creatures within 10 feet of you have advantage on attack rolls against that creature until the end of your next turn. Woo! Weird. Here's the thing that I'm not sure about. The way that this is worded, would those creatures still have advantage on that attack if they were not within 10 feet of you when they made the attack? Do they need to be within 10 feet of you when they make the attack? Or do they need to be within 10 feet of you when the creature fails its saving throw? I'm not sure. But I don't think it's both. So I would think around that a little bit. I also feel like it's another one of those things where it's like, from a balance perspective, way less use. You're getting way less use out of this than most auras. But it's pretty good when you do get to use it. But it's another one that feels very situational. So you got to be wary about too many situational features. Also, I just noticed that you're doing some stuff that I like. And I feel like you do this a bunch, so I do just want to point it out. See how Gemjar put this little border on the bottom? And this little, like, fade to the stuff? Makes it look nice, doesn't it? Doesn't it make it look professional? In a way that you don't really think about until it's pointed out to you? Let's see if we get a 15th level. Whispers of Depravity. Also music. You are going in a direction that I do not mind, but I need you to calm a little bit. At 15th level, you learn the spell Suggestion. I would... I don't like this. This doesn't feel like we need this feature. We aren't a mind control paladin. We're not an enchantment paladin. If you want to give us suggestion, put it here. Give us something new. This is the first feature for the whole subclass that we got where there aren't rules you need to follow. You don't need to make a channel divinity. You don't need to make an aura. You can give us something unique. Getting to cast Suggestion. That's just suggestion. It's not even really doing anything different than the suggestion spell. You know? Let's look at 20. At 20th level, you become the Avatar of Corruption. Every creature that it's... Oh my god. Wait a minute. I think you lost the plot, Gemjar. I think you lost the plot. I think you lost the plot. I think there was a plot. You had that thing by the mane. You were pulling it in. You could smell it. It might have given you fleas. But I think you lost it. What is this the paladin of? What is this the paladin of? It's the paladin of corruption. Corruption is many things. Hedonism, sin. But it's also the opposite of purifying, you know? It's like there's a rot, a spiritual rot. You know what I mean? We should feel that in the aura. This doesn't feel like that. We should feel like our presence depurifies things that are too close to us. I don't know what that should be, but I think that that will do so much labor here. I'm not sure. I mean, you could go in the mind mush element, right? Like the mind control-y, enchantment, hedonism. But I do think that that is the headspace you want to sit in for this 7th level feature. Let me look at the 20th level. Each creature that, because I thought about it with this, each creature that ends its turn within a certain range of you making a saving throw makes sense because it's like you're corrupting. I was like, wait, we're corrupting. Why are we corrupting here? It's an aura. We should be spreading corruption. That's what the thought process was in my robot. Each creature that ends its turn within 30 feet of us make a wisdom save or become charmed by you. When it's charmed in this way, and it takes damage, it can repeat the save. Creature that succeeds its save is immune to 24 hours. It's an action you can turn on your turn. You can force all creatures within 30 feet of you that are charmed by you to use their reaction. I think this is too much. It's sort of like, because this doesn't really feel like you enter an avatar state. This just feels like a special move, right? You charm everybody around you and then you make them hit each other. That's not an avatar state. That's just a special move. I would try to give you more of an avatar state. Don't make it so 1-2. Make it more open-ended. That's what I would say. But I like the vibe a lot. Oh, this is just always on? Oh, then I think this is too strong. I would say that. I would say this feels too strong. I don't even remember what the Redemption Paladin gets, but that feels too strong. To be able to charm creatures and make them hit each other seems like a lot. I would give them an avatar state, probably. Yeah. I hear ya. I would still... If somebody brought this to my table, I would look at it and I would say no. So take that for what it is. If you feel like it's not a big deal, fine. But for me, this 20th level feature would be a deal breaker. Okie dokie. Thank you, Gem. Also, realistically, we wouldn't get to 20th level, so maybe it doesn't matter. Thank you very much, Gem. I have never gotten a campaign to level 20 that didn't start over level 10. I've done a high level campaign that was very fast paced. I like fast paced campaigns. And we went from level 14 or 13 to 20, but I never did a 1 to 20. 1 to 20 is a lot. All right, let's see what else we got here. Anybody new? The flavor was good, yeah. Man, my Curse of Strahd game did not last that long. It was really fun. I guess it lasted like a year-ish. But we also... I don't know. I think there's a lot going on in Curse of Strahd that we didn't care about. Apparently, there was like a city that the that we went to that the DM thought we were gonna be in for like 3 or 4 sessions minimum, and we were there for like 20 minutes. We just weren't interested in it. Oh yeah, I mean, I've done a lot of high level one shots. I've been a part of some, and I've ran a couple. They are hectic. High level is bananas. It's very homebrew. That makes sense. And if you're loving it, then who cares if it's going on for 2 years? That's fucking awesome. There's a spoiler. I don't want to spoil. There is a revelation that is made at a certain point in Curse of Strahd, and I will say that when our group made that revelation, it basically made us genuinely not care about Barovia at all, and we completely changed the way we were playing the game from we have to save Barovia from the bad guys to, oh, let's just kill everything we don't care about and get the fuck out of here. And it was like a dramatic shift, and we all felt it immediately. I can tell you if you want. I don't care. It's spoilers. Spoiler alert for Curse of Strahd. I'll go like this when the spoiler alert's over, okay? Spoiler alert for Curse of Strahd. Eventually you find out that like 99% of the people there are like soulless, and they're just these sort of like gray husk people, and they're like not really alive and not really dead, and they're just like sad and don't have personalities and don't really matter. And then we were just like, oh, they're all nothing NPCs. This is all just a place of nothing NPCs. So we just don't care about any of them. Like, who cares about saving a city? 99% of it's nothing NPCs. Okay, spoilers over. Okay, what do you got for us today, Maddie? This is an alienated inversion of the theme. I drew from the open palm philosophy. What is it the opposite of? Are you in the chat? I saw you. Tell me very specifically. Is this the way of open hand? Is this the opposite of the way of open hand? Okay, it is. Way of the closed fist. I gotcha. How would you make the way... Here's what I would say. I'm very curious what you made here, because I would argue if you took the way of the open hand monk and changed its name to the way of the closed fist monk, you wouldn't need to change literally anything. Like, you would just flavor it as punching. So I'm curious to see how you decided to interpret the opposite of that mechanically. Your flavor text, I'm going to be real blunt here, tells us literally nothing about the subclass. I would say one could argue that this flavor text could be the flavor text for any monk. So we still have no idea what this thing is supposed to be like. Whenever you hit a creature with flurry of blows, you can impose echoing discord. So this means you can do this that means you can do this feature twice instead of just once. So the open hand monk can only apply its special flurry of blows thing to, I think, one attack. This thing could, in theory, apply echoing discord to multiple creatures, or the same creature multiple times. When you have the echoing discord condition, what? Oh, Maddie, why did you try to write something so complicated? Do you get the echoing discord condition, or do you impose it on someone when you hit them? What are you talking about? Yeah, this just fundamentally doesn't work. This just genuinely doesn't work. Maddie. I don't know how to be more... I don't know... How many times do I have to explain and express and make clear that we aren't... that you should not be balancing your writing based off the 2024 writing if you're not writing 2024 writing? I don't know how it's literally in the fucking form, my guy. Like, I come on, man. If you're gonna write, here's what I'll say, Maddie, and I'm never gonna repeat this to you again. And if you use the excuse of copying something in the 2024 handbook again, I'm going to just stop reading what you're looking at as a sort of punishment to try to make you remember the conversation in the future. It's not gonna happen now. If this happens again, that's gonna be the punishment, though. If you are not writing something for the 2024 rules, don't use the 2024 rules to describe how something works. That's one thing. The second thing is conditions are always written in the second person. Maybe they're written in the third person a little bit, but there's a bigger deal here. This is never how you would ever express how a subclass mechanic works. Ever. This is the brain logic that somebody that's reading this piece has to do. They have to learn, okay, when I use Flurry of Blows, I can impose this condition. Now, when I have this condition, I get this. So then I take that and then I put that on the monster. So there's all this extra back and forth that we just don't need. Like, if you wanted to make the opposite of the open hand monk, I'm not sure why you didn't notice that all the conditions it imposes, it doesn't write like this. It doesn't write them in the second person. In fact, I would argue there is literally no ability that is in any subclass of any class that is written in a way where the thing that it does to the monster is written in the second person. Because the thing that it does to the monster, it is like, do you know what I mean? Like, it's never written that way. Ever. So you really don't want to do that. The other thing why this just fundamentally doesn't work is if this is an ability that reduces a monster's strength, dex, and con, that means that every time you use this ability on any monster, the dungeon master has to recalculate that monster's everything. Because it's not like you lose your constitution, you lose 1 hit point. You have to like redo the math of that monster's hit points. Same for its attack rolls. Same for everything. So I think that this just fundamentally doesn't work. Oh, it's just the saving throws. I missed just the saving throws. Do you know why I missed just the saving throws? Because of how gobbledygook it is in terms of how organized it is. I'll be honest. I'm gonna be real blunt here. I'm gonna stick to my guns. I still don't think this feature really works that well. It seems overcomplicated. I also think it's like the fact that it can stack, I think, is really, really, really easy to cheese. Like, stupidly easy to take advantage of. Like, if I go 3 levels of monk and 2 levels of fighter, I could reduce somebody's strength, dex, and con saving throws by 6. That's a lot. That's not hard. I could do that by level 5. That's easy. So I just don't think it really works. I just don't think it really works. Matt, I can do that in 1 turn. A monk can attack 3 times at level 3. So that's 3 stacks. That's 1 turn. If I'm a fighter and I take 2 levels, I can use my action surge. That means I can do that whole thing twice. That's 6. Oh, I see. There is a stacking mechanic. It's just at the end. This just seems really overcomplicated. Like, on one hand, I'm like, what's the point? Like, if these end at the end of our turn, then genuinely, what's the point? Unless the goal is that we are combining these with grappling. But there's no indication anywhere in this entire subclass that that's at all what we're supposed to be doing. And that's really doesn't work well with the 2014 monk, like, at all. And this just feels complicated. Like, why do we need 3 levels of this feature to, like, at what point does the complicatedness of a feature make it so it stops feeling like a feature is uplifting a subclass and helping sell a fiction of a character, and start feeling like this is just a magic item? This is just a cool idea that is just a complicated little mini game that makes a magic. Like, this just feels like a magic item. This doesn't feel like a subclass. That's sort of what I would say. You know? I don't know. And we're just increasing the thing that I already think doesn't work that well. Yeah, see, this is I think we don't need to read the whole thing. It's all based on the echoing discord condition, and I kind of disagree with the echoing discord condition. So I would say the danger that you have when you build a fairly complicated condition that doesn't have a clear reasoning behind it, and then build your whole... Let me rephrase that. That was said a little bit harsher than I needed to. When you build any condition or anything as the core concept of your subclass, and every single other thing is built to grow, is built off of that branch, if this branch doesn't work, then none of it works. When I don't know what you're saying, Maddie. If you're arguing that, are you saying that you just forgot that you could multi-class? That might be what you're saying. It doesn't matter. Even if you could only use one flurry of blows, you're missing you're missing the point. Let's say you can't stack this. Let's say you could only ever get 4. You can play a game, you can't multi-class. The most you could ever get is 4 ice cream. And maybe that's why you said that made this 4, to prevent extra stacking or whatever. What's the point? What is the point of reducing the target's strength, dexterity, and constitution saving throw by 1 until the end of our turn, outside of we can stun them better with stunning strike, which is not giving us a subclass feature. It's just making us a monk that is more monk. Because you know what I mean? Like, it's just, I just feel like it's I don't know. It doesn't feel like anything to me. I also don't think it's a good idea to have features where, to understand why the features exist, we have to play this weird loop-de-loop game of thinking about, like, what other things this is tying to make it make sense. Like, I don't want to have to, even if it's a simple puzzle, I shouldn't be doing, I shouldn't be doing, like, the puzzles in the back of the newspaper to understand why we have a subclass feature. If the point of this subclass feature is we can stunning strike better when we get to level 5, that's not good, because we shouldn't have to wait till level 5 or level 6 before this thing has a reason to use it. And if the point of it is so that we can grapple, then why is dexterity a part of this? Or I guess because you could pick dex or strength, but like that's already something monks are so bad at. Like, why are we... I don't know. Just... I think you lost the plot a little bit, or maybe you didn't have the plot. I don't understand how this is the opposite of the way of the open hand fist, but nonetheless, you gave it an effort, and we appreciate the effort. Yeah, I don't understand how it's not really the opposite of the open hand mug. Maybe there probably is, there's an idea in there somewhere that they had, I'm sure, but I don't think it made it to the page very clearly, unfortunately. It's okay. Listen, we're all working, we're all trying, we're all growing. But yeah, it was vague. It's not even that it was too complicated, it was that it was too complicated for seemingly no clear purpose. Like, you can create a complicated system if it needs to be there. But if it feels like it doesn't need to be there, then immediately it turns into like, what are we doing here? You know? How long is the stream gonna go? I don't think it's gonna go as long as my normal streams because I'm a little under the weather, but I'll be going for at least a little bit longer. At least a little bit longer. Bugadoo, 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 bugadoo. As long as you explained why if you feel like it's not clear, then you just need to explain. I mean, I literally put something in the forum that was like, tell me why you did this. So if you did that, then you're fine. If you didn't do that and it's still not clear, I'm going to just be like, this seems like it's not the opposite of anything. Okay, let's see. This is the opposite of the Berserker Barbarian. This is the opposition both ways. The idea is to invert the most rage-fueled subclass with a barbarian whose flavor relies on controlling their rage via meditation. Okay. As for mechanically, there's a note in the doc which explains how the features mirror each other. Cool. Probably not going to read it, but chat might want to. Path of focus. Be careful with your formatting. Do you see how your words bleed? You see how the picture bleeds over the words? Don't let it do that. Even a little bit. It does something in the same way that formatting something on Homebrewery and getting the titles and having little bordery bottoms and stuff kind of tricks your lizard brain into being like, oh, this is good. This is professional looking. This has the exact opposite effect. Things like this O, or this plus sign, or this 8, or this word sense. So be careful with that. It's like, it's the double-edged sword of formatting. Most barbarians' rage is seen as uncontrollable. For most barbarians, rage is seen as an uncontrollable force. Don't ever start your flavor text like this. The lucky few who replace the screams of uncontrolled rage with a silent meditative trance follow the path of focus. Basically, you want this to be your opening sentence. You don't ever want to start your homebrew. Most artificers are like this, but this one's like that. This is just, honestly, it's just bad writing that is trained into a lot of people, especially in the United States, because they are trained to write essays where the goal is word count. So you get into these habits of wasting words and saying things that genuinely don't add anything to what you're saying, but they feel like they do enough that they like work well in an essay for school. But you're not writing an essay for school. You don't need to waste words, and you really don't want to. You want to hit them. You want to hit the reader like a truck, you know? The lucky few barbarians who replace their screams of rage with silent meditative trances follow the path of focus, period. Something like that. Their rage bolsters their mind and concentration rather than pure physique. And this is also kind of repeating the same idea, but it's kind of fine too. All right, let's see if we get a third level. Body over blade and focused fury. Starting when you choose this path at third level, you are no longer reliant on mere weapons. that doesn't... Take out mere. It'll be better. Genuinely. Your unarmed strikes can deal bludgeoning damage equal to 1d8 plus your strength modifier on a hit. Okay, we just get unarmed attack. We just get the unarmed fighting style. What else do we get? Beginning at third level, you can go into a meditative rage. When you do, you can choose to add your rage bonus to all of your attack what? To your attack roll rather than your damage. Oh, that's interesting. Additionally, you can use a bonus action to maintain your rage. Okay, that's fine. Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. I wanna. I need to. This is a cool idea, but there's something that I need to address here, or I don't think I think that you are gonna. I want to point something out that really matters a lot. Gemjar says that at higher levels, getting a +4 or whatever will be a lot. And yeah, that's true. It would. But I think there's a bigger reason why I wouldn't go in the direction of changing your damage roll to your attack roll. And it has less to do with bounded accuracy, and it has more to do with the question that I ask a lot of people, which is, are you making your subclass work for the class you built it for? Or are you just making it sort of in space, in a vacuum? Because if you ignore core class features when you're building your subclass, you can end up in a weird kind of place. What am I talking about? Does anyone know what I'm talking about? I'm very curious. If you don't, it's fine. But if you do, you win a prize. Oh, I understand what the idea is into the indie, but there's something that you're missing that I think is really important. Flareware brings it up. Every single barbarian has 3 defining features. It has its rage, it has its danger sense, and it has its reckless attack. We already, in our core class, have a way to boost our attack roll. It is called reckless attack. That's what it is. Functionally, it is the same as adding a number to our attack roll. So because of that, I really don't think we should have another feature that is adding to our attack roll. It will unquestionably make our attack roll much too high across the board. But beyond that, instead of it uplifting one of the core class features, it diminishes it. It makes it less special, less important. Also less good in a lot of circumstances. Because there's a downside to it also, which is that people have advantage on attacks against you. So if I were you, and I was building this to be around focus, I would not let us switch out rage damage bonus for attack roll bonus. I don't think that works. What I might do is play around with what reckless attack looks like on this barbarian, and how would their reckless attack be different in a way that would express the idea that they are not attacking recklessly. I'm not exactly sure what that would be, but that's where my head goes. I think it's too much of the same thing to give a core 3rd level feature that is an attack roll bonus on top of a barbarian who already gets an attack roll bonus at 2nd level. That's kind of what it comes down to. The concept is good. The logic, if you put this, if fighters got rage and you put this on a fighter, it would be wonderful. But it's not a fighter. It's a barbarian. So I don't think it fits super well. Let's take a look at the 6th level feature. You're considered proficient in those saving throws while raging. How? That feels kind of the same. Maybe it's this. That feels the same. Oh, it's a little different. It's very the same. This doesn't feel... I'm not going to be super judgy here, but I will say this doesn't feel like the opposite to me. I would never in a million years would I say the opposite of being immune to charm and fear effects is you now are good against intelligence, wisdom, and charisma saving throws. I don't really feel like that feels like the opposite in kind of any direction, like mechanical or flavor wise. I don't know. Like, listen, do whatever you want, but if I was gonna do this, I would do something like open-minded. That's probably what I would call it. And I would say something like, while raging, you have advantage on intelligence and wisdom checks. Or maybe even just in general, you have some bonus to your intelligence and your wisdom checks. Because you're focusing, right? You're focusing. That means you're thinking, which means you're better at those sort of mental skills. Which also, I think, is a little bit opposite of the, I'm so mindless that I'm immune. But I don't know. It feels too similar. Feels like these guys are playing the same. These guys feel like they're playing on the same baseball team. They're just playing different positions. At 10th level, we have blind sight to 10 feet. This kind of just feels the same. Like, I don't know what this is. What does a berserker get at 10th level? I don't remember, but this feels odd. I don't know why we're getting blind sight. Feels random. And then we get mystic negation at 14th level. Your control over your senses gives you resistance to certain effects. When you lose intelligence, wisdom, or charisma saving throws while raging, you can use your reaction to end your rage. Yeah, why are we getting... Yeah, this just feels weird, man. I don't know. All of these feel... I'm not seeing... Maybe it's just me. But I'm not seeing how these feel like the opposite on their own. And I don't want to have to read your explanation to understand why they are. They kind of just feel like... It feels less like an opposite berserker and more just like an alternative berserker. But I don't know. Like, they all feel too similar to what the main berserker does. I don't know. You like the capstone? I don't know. I don't feel strongly about it. Like, to me, this feels like a 6th level feature. And the way that you would... This just feels like a 6th level feature we're getting at 14th level. That's what this feels like to me. And it also feels like we already have a feature. A whole level feature is devoted to intelligence, wisdom, and charisma saving throws. Do we really need 2 features devoted to intelligence, wisdom, and charisma saving throws? That's half of our features. I don't know. Just seems like a lot. A noble attempt. I will be honest and say I am not seeing it. But I do think it is a noble attempt. And I think that there are quite a few people in the chat that seem to enjoy it quite a bit. And if you enjoy it, that's all that matters. Thank you for sharing. I think you just made it too similar to the Berserker. Is really what it comes down to. The fatal flaw of I don't know, of using the mechanics of the thing to inspire your own is you can dangerously make them the same mechanics sometimes. Thank you, Kaboof. Into the abyss you go. It feels like I'm streaming 24/7. I am not. I usually stream 3 days a week. But I'm glad you're here. It's funny how similar the first 2 features were to mine. If you watch my stream for any period of time, you will realize how similar so many of our homebrew ends up being. People have a tendency to come up with the same idea or the same solution to a problem completely independently pretty often. Good night, Gemjar. Bagadu 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 bagadu. Ba God do Baba. Baba, what you got for us today, Baba? You glorious fiend, you sensual tyrannosauri. This is okay, this is another one that I know we got at least 2 of. This is an anti-shadow sorcerer, a radiant soul sorcerer, as opposed to a divine soul. Mainly a thematic opposite. I saw we had at least one other light-based sorcerer. Let's see. I think the key to making a radiant soul sorcerer work is not making it a divine soul sorcerer, which means you want to move away. You don't want to dance with cleric basically at all. You want to lean to like light, sun, fire, literal light, not like spiritual light. Let's see what we get. The power of the sun is blinding and purifying. Radiant soul sorcerers are conduits of its raw power, scouring, illuminating, and burning away their enemies without pity. Yours was a light soul? Yeah, dude, like I told you, we often come up with similar ideas. It's just the way the game works. You don't have to feel anything about it other than acknowledging that our brains are good pattern finders. Okay, let's see what spells we get. Color Spray, Guiding Bolt. I wouldn't give us any cleric spells. I'm going to be honest here. I wouldn't give us any cleric spells. I would take every cleric spell off this list. I would take away Greater Restoration. I would take away Crusader's Mantle. I would take away Banishment. Maybe not Banishment. Yeah, I would probably take away everything that's just... I think actually everyone can get Banishment. I don't think it's cleric only. But I would take out all the cleric stuff. Don't give us Guiding Bolt. Why? Because I don't want to make a Divine Soul Sorcerer. If you disagree with that, do whatever you want, obviously. Blazing Eyes. Your eyes blaze with the light of the sun. You gain proficiency in intimidation and have advantage on saving throws to resist being blinded. That's a fine little ribbon feature. Let's give us something punchy. Once per round, when a target is hit by a melee weapon attack made from a weapon affected by your light cantrip, the wielder can use their bonus actions to deal extra radiant damage equal to your level in this class. Interesting. Okay, there's a couple things that need to be clarified here. When does that round reset? Does it reset at the start of your turn? Does it reset at the end of your turn? Does it end the light cantrip? I also think the radiant damage probably can't be equal to your level, unfortunately. It's not too... I think I would tweak that. I might make it a number, and then I might make that number grow. Because you want it to be more than 1 damage at level 1, but you don't want it to be 20 damage at level 20 either. Because it's infinite use. It's not on a resource. So I would probably pick a number between a D6 and a D8 and have it be that. And then have that number become 2d6 or 2d8 or something like that later. I also think that it shouldn't use their bonus action. I think it should be stuff that maybe it's you do it. Or it's like Guiding Bolt, where it's not that they use their bonus action to do it. It's literally just that their next attack that hits does that extra damage. I don't think it should eat up their action economy. I don't even think it should eat up yours, really. Like, I almost feel like if I were you, I would maybe drop the spell list and give us a unique version of light that let us cast light as a bonus action to work with this a little bit better. I don't know. I do like the idea of you empowering a weapon with magic light and then it getting like a little mini smite attack. I think that's really cool. I don't think this is a good execution of it at the moment, though. I think you got a lot of different directions to go in, a lot of things to think about. One, is it a normal casting of light? Does it end the spell? There's a lot of things that it could do that you could play around with. This feels like annoying to re-up everyone's weapon with light every hour. I'd make it a bespoke feature. Does light not require concentration to maintain? I think it does, doesn't it? Am I misremembering how the spell works? Might not. I don't remember. It probably doesn't, actually. No, it doesn't. Yeah, this should not be on for an hour. I wasn't thinking about that. This just means I can give everybody this feature. They can all have it on all the time. Yeah, that's too much. It should be like a special thing you can do where like you target someone's weapon. I wouldn't tie it to the light cantrip at all. I agree with Flareware. You like touch somebody's weapon, it glows, and then it gets a little mini smite. Make it its own separate feature. Maybe you could do it a number of times per day equal to some number and you get resources or something. Let's see what we get at 6th level. When you cast a spell, you can spend 1 sorcery point to change 1 or more of the spell's damage types to radiant. It's fine. As an action, you can spend 2 sorcery points to send some purifying light coursing through your body for 10 minutes. You want to say for the duration after that. For the duration, when a creature hits you with a melee attack, they take radiant damage equal to twice your proficiency modifier. Who sent this in? Baba, you should be better at balancing Homebrew than this. This is so much too powerful. 2 sorcery points for 10 minutes of a creature taking damage every time they hit you. And you get immunity to stuff and damage resistances. For 2 sorcery points? For 10 minutes? Maybe for 3 sorcery points for 1 minute. But your numbers are a little off here, buddy. I think casting light on a weapon can add, can make it add 1d4 radiant damage to the stack once per turn. That could be cool. Yeah, that could work for sure. 14th level, Hard Light Corona. At 14th level, you can use your action to wreath yourself in protective sunlight. You gain a bunch of temporary hit points. This already is feeling like it's an 18th level feature, not a 14th level feature. While you have these temporary hit points, you shed bright light. As a bonus action, you can dismiss the armor. What armor? What are you talking about? You literally haven't mentioned the word armor yet. Don't define something as armor if you haven't clarified what you're talking about up here. Losing the temporary hit points and illumination. If a creature hits you with a melee attack you have these temporary hit points, they have to make a con saving throw or be blinded. Yeah, this doesn't feel like a 14th level feature. This just feels like a capstone feature that we're getting at 14th level. And I don't know if I'm going to read the whole thing because this is a lot. At 18th level, you channel your blah, blah, blah. As a bonus action, you get an avatar mode. And it looks like it does the same thing the other things do. You just radiate light and deal damage. Yeah, I think you went overkill here, my guy. This. I don't know if this is too much or not, but I will tell you that by the time I got to it, it felt like too much to the point that I wanted to skim it and not really read it. So I would say that you went a little overboard, but that's okay. All right, we got a opposite shadow sorcerer, a radiant soul. Went a little too hard in the paint here. I would say cut off its feet and maybe its legs. All right, let us give Baba a round of applause. Thank you, thank you. Kaboosh. Oh, I'm getting tired. I might not be able to do it much longer, guys. My body's catching up with me. Bagadu 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 ba J. This is my attempt at an evil beast master. Rather than grow the bond between themselves with their beast, this ranger improves the beast itself, crafting new abilities onto it. So you're like a Dr. Frankenstein. Thematically, this can play out a number of ways. Okay, Let's just read it. Why is this written like this? A Chimeric Ranger has seen the fault, the weakness in the kind-hearted Beastmaster. Oh, you wrote it like the opposite. Okay. They seek to perfect the bond between man and beast, teaching the teachings of Chimera no better. Why perfect? Okay, so you're doing the thing that I already told other people about. Don't spend half your time asking questions about or saying what they're not. I would rewrite this whole thing to just say what they are. Chimeric Conclave Rangers appreciate the power in not just making beasts their companion, but their sculptures. I don't know, whatever. Okay. During our long rest, we're able to graft our onto your Chimera any part of a beast you killed the previous day. What the fuck does that mean? This will grant appropriate ability to your Chimeric Hound as it offered the original beast you slayed. This doesn't really work, unfortunately. And only those from beasts of CR equal to half your level rounded down. That still doesn't really work. So we don't need to read this thing. I'm just gonna skip ahead a little bit here. Here's the thing. You really don't want to design any core class or subclass features to intrinsically get their power from a specific type of monster, or for their powers to mimic open-ended specific types of monsters. And there's a few reasons for that. The first reason for that is that monsters really are not designed to be used by players. Even a lot of the beast stuff really isn't. Like, some of it is, you know, from a wild shape perspective, but a lot of it's not. And if you are just picking and choosing, it's not time for lyrics music. If you're just picking and choosing, it's very easy to take advantage of that. You're not picking and choosing here, but now it's sort of creating the opposite issue, where if your dungeon master isn't having you fight very specific monster types, and by that I mean beasts that are half your CR or lower, if they're not having you do that regularly, like, your subclass isn't anything. So I think the idea of a chimeric hound that gets to graft parts onto its body, I think that conceptually is awesome. But I think the implementation of you actually grabbing parts from monsters will completely fall apart very quickly when used at most tables, unless people are really willing to put the work in to make them work, both in terms of balancing and also in terms of using. So what I would say is you should probably give them a list, man. There's the D&D player option, the Simic Hybrid. They pick one of 3 animal types at level 1, and then one of 3 animal types at level 3, and then one of 3 animal types at level 5, and each one gives them a unique feature. You could do something like that, right? When you pick the Chimeric Hound at 3rd level, it gets to have one of these 4 different modular augmentations, and maybe you could change them over a rest, or as they get higher in level, they could add more, or they could expand. But if you're trying to do, like, you pull a feature off a monster and put it on you, that's really... You can do that in your home game. Just do it if you want. Go for it. But you should know that that's not really how monsters are designed, and it might be a feature that feels like it's not broken now, but then will become broken later if a new monster comes out that the feature can engage with in a way that will break it. And then you're playing this weird game where you're like, well, I'm balancing not just my monsters against which ones I'm having the player fight so that they get access to the features so that they can feel like they have their subclass, but I'm kind of doing the opposite, where there might be some monsters I really want to use, but I don't, because it would be really frustrating to have to deal with the players having access to those features, you know? Let's see what we get at 7th level. As always, if all the features base off the 3rd feature, then we won't really have much more to say. Let's see. You are now able to graft beasts that parts would change. You can't give there's burrow speed. I would say no. I would not give my beast a burrow speed. Maybe you could make this work if you did something like half speed and something, but burrow speeds are really strong. I would be wary of that. You can also change their stats. That's going to be really annoying. That means you need to recalculate their whole stat block every time you do that. That doesn't really work. A lot of these don't really work if D&D isn't a video game, unfortunately. This is just taken straight from the Drake Warden. Any semblance of the 3rd level feature being balanced is completely shattered when we can take features for monstrosities. Like a Catoblepus. So at 11th level, I could have my minion shoot a death ray very easily. For example. It's a little too much. I guess it's only up to CR 1/4. But even then, man, you could find some weird shit that you could mix on. I just don't know. I don't think this is the move. I think if a feature like this is called player spends an hour looking through monsters to find the one that breaks the game. Yeah. I think it's a really cool idea, but I think your execution has a pretty big fatal flaw that I think if you address, you could end up with a really cool subclass. But I would don't copy things from the Drake Warden, and give it some unique features. Don't just have it pull from monsters. You're shooting yourself in the foot there, Jay. All right, let's give Jay a round of applause. Also, yeah, that's my main thought. I mean, yeah, there's low CR monsters that have all sorts of crazy powers. But even then, it's like, we could have the argument of going through the book to trying to find them, but maybe the fact that that's a thing that is a reasonable outcome of that feature is it a good indicator that there's something off there, you know? We just looked at an opposite Berserker. We did. Bagadu 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 Quincy. Let's see what you got for us. Another barbarian. This is the opposite version of the path of the ancestral guardian barbarian, making it more of a divination and future-telling subclass, similar to divination wizards. Why is that the opposite? Oh, I guess because it's like ancestors is like looking to your ancestors. And this is like looking to your future, but doesn't... Which barbarian gets that kind of magic? Because there's a barbarian that gets some of those kind of divination-y spells. Isn't it the Ancestral Guardian? Or is it the Zealot? Yeah, we kind of... Man, I don't know. I guess this is consulting the spirits, but augury and clairvoyance are literally divination spells. Like, I don't... I know I said there's a lot of interpretations, but I feel like you're I feel like that's a big pull. All right, hopefully it feels like the opposite in the mechanics, because I would argue the Ancestral Guardian Barbarian is the divination barbarian. Starting when you choose this path at 3rd level, you see into the future when you enter your rage. When you enter your rage, well, you don't need to copy that. Roll 2d20 and record the numbers rolled. You can replace any attack roll, saving throw, or ability check made by you or a creature that you can see by the foretold rolls. You must do this before the roll, and you can replace the roll this way each, only once per turn. So, I do have an unfortunate thing here. This doesn't work. It just doesn't work. It doesn't work for really one reason. Maybe two. The main reason why this doesn't work is, as written, we are getting more access to portent than a divination wizard. And we should not be getting more uses of portent than a divination wizard. That's the first thing. At level 3, we have more access to portents than a divination wizard has at level 20. That's the first thing. The second thing, and it's sort of, this is the same sort of feedback that I had for somebody else that was just copying features from other subclasses. This doesn't feel like a barbarian feature. This feels like you just took portent and made it happen during rage. I want this to feel like a barbarian's version of portent. Just having it happen during rage, I don't think is enough. Trodosio says, I'd make it something like when you rage, you gain a pool of d4s equal to your rage bonus, and then you can use those to add or subtract from damage rolls or saves. Yeah, that could work really well. But yeah, this is just too, it's just too much. It's just portent. It's just portent, but better. It's not unique for a barbarian, and it's stronger than the thing that it's inspired by. So you got to be real careful about that. All right, let's take a look at the 6th level feature. Beginning at 6th level, you see more potential futures and use this to protect your allies. If you are raging and another creature you can see within 30 feet of you would take damage from a ranged attack, you can use your reaction to move up to 15 feet in order to jump in front of the attack, taking the damage instead. You can use this feature proficiency bonus times per day. I think this is probably fine. I would probably make this a once per rage feature as opposed to proficiency bonus times per day. I guess proficiency bonus times per day is okay, but I think once per rage feels more in line with barbarians. Do you provoke opportunity attacks when you jump in the way? When you move these 15 feet? Unclear. It's only ranged attacks. Huh. Does it need to be? Hot take, portent isn't a good mechanic. Yeah, but people still do love it. What's up, Stronghold? How's it going, buddy? You just make it a teleport? Yeah, you could make it a teleport. That could work. Let's look at 10th level. Whispers of the Future. At 10th level, you gain the ability to hear the whispers of the future. While listening, you can cast Locate Object or Locate Creature without using a spell slot or material components, rather than sensing an object or creature. What? Rather than sensing... You have you've got some spelling mistakes going on. It's confusing me. Rather than sensing where the object or creature is, comma, you hear whispers of its future location. Okay, so there's a couple things here. One, these can't be infinite in use. So if we look at the Ancestral Guardian Barbarian, it has this lovely little caveat here, which is quite important. Probably want something like that. But more importantly, honest question. As a dungeon master, or really as any three-dimensional being, which I'm pretty sure most of you are, how can you accurately run this feature as a dungeon master? Like, how could you know where the object is going to be to give the player that accurate information? Because in theory, the game is somewhat up to chance and the player's choices. Like, there are no fortune-telling mechanics in D&D outside of adjusting dice outcomes. And the reason for that is because we as the players and as the dungeon master, we cannot literally tell the future, so we can't have a mechanic that would require us to be able to literally tell the future to use. Do you know what I mean? Intended location? That's kind of an interesting idea. I would want a little bit of clarity as to what that meant. But that could be a direction to go in. But I would argue we don't really know what a lot of things' intended locations are. Like, what is the intended location of a pencil? Or like even like a magic, like let's say you're on a quest to find some ancient lost artifact and you want to use this feature. Is this feature going to show you that the object in your possession? Is it going to show you the object being wielded by some bad guy to make some big explosion that you're trying to prevent? Is it going to show the object back where it came from being protected safely by its creators? Like, what, you know what I mean? Yeah, but flareware. All of you are oversimplifying, and that's fine. You're more than welcome to do that, but there's an element of willful ignorance there. The difference between saying this is a potential path, is the outcome good or bad or both or unclear? The difference between that and where is that object going to be specifically later is a pretty big chasm. And I think to ignore that chasm is to be a little silly. The talking point was that you can't have features that actually tell the future. So all of the features in D&D that purport to tell the future do it in incredibly vague ways or with numbers. You know, they tell the future by you deciding what a dice roll is going to be, or they show you having foresight by having advantage on all of your rolls, or in the very specific circumstance of augury or something like legend lore, which is sort of like opposite augury. The spell is chained into being literally as vague as possible. Unless you have a actual way that you could tell where an object is specifically going to be whenever somebody uses this ability. Not where it is, where it's going to be. Let's look at 14th level. Future recoil. Do you mean recall or recoil? I don't know. At 14th level, your visions of the future are more precise. You spelled precise wrong. You have so many spelling mistakes in here that I'm not sure if you meant recall or recoil. That's not a good sign. So you should just put all of your stuff into Google Docs or something first. It's going to catch 80% of these. When you use protection from future to jump in front of a ranged attack, you can send the ranged attack back at the target. If it's the ranged weapon attack, using your strength modifier. If it's a ranged spell attack, using your intelligence modifier. Why? Just make it only work for weapons, or just let us use strength. Don't make us use intelligence. Come on now. And we can only do that once per long rest. It's not that good. I would say this should be a once per rage feature for sure. It also doesn't feel like a future telling. It feels more like a cool monk, like a magic monk thing. But I don't know. It's a hard thing to try to make a subclass around the future and future telling. And divination is not the cleanest solution. And I think this is similarly not the cleanest solution. But it's a noble thing to try. It's very hard. Thank you for sharing. What if the feature pointed the player character in the direction of the object of where the object or person will be? How do we know which direction it will be? That's the same question. You only wrote that in an hour? That's not bad. For a speed brew, that's pretty dang good. Like, that also makes all the spelling mistakes make so much sense because they're all like typing mistakes. Anyway, cool. Thank you for sharing. Yeah. Literally, we had the exact same thought. That's so funny. Ugh. I'm dying. I'm dying. I'm not dying. I'm dying a little. We are all dying. It's true. Yeah, but some of us with more style than others. Alrighty. Do we want to do more? I feel like I'm out. I want to do more. Here's my thought. I'm gonna be real honest. I would love to read more of these, but I felt myself in the last 3 having a harder time just enjoying exploring them because it feels like I feel like I'm just feeling sick. I'm tired. My body hurts. I didn't sleep good the last couple nights. I think we're gonna wrap up here. I'm a little bit bummed in myself because I really love these. So here's my request. My request is that if I did not review your homebrew on this particular stream, share this one whenever we're doing our next open forum one on Sunday or whatever. If you don't have something, or if you have something and are like, oh, maybe I'll send this or something, I'll send this. I want to see these. And just make sure you're letting me know that it is one of those. Cause yeah. I would love to spin you too, Databank. I saw which one you made. You made the one that I want to read. Data, I'm gonna be really honest. I'm not gonna look at it right now, but it's not because I don't love you. It's because I'm tired and I'm losing my power of entertaining. And if I don't catch myself when I'm starting to do this, I become scary, mean Cinder. And I don't want to be scary, mean Cinder. I want to be reasonable yet harsh Cinder. But Data, I will also say that you made the one that I want to read the most. Straight up. I didn't get a look at it. I just saw what you called it. And yours is legitimately the one I want to read the most. So I also am a little sad we didn't get to read yours. I'm sad I didn't get to read everybody's. But here's the deal. We do these streams all the time. So before we leave, couple pieces of bookkeeping. We have another big open forum homebrew review stream on Sunday. So bring your homebrew to that. If you are somebody that subscribes on Twitch, if you're a sub on Twitch, either through Amazon Prime or whatever, or if you are a member on YouTube or a patron on Patreon, then on our Sunday review, then you can be on the big wheel, which is this one, or the little wheel, which usually has like 20-ish people on it. So, and we bounce back and forth between the two, and it ends up, you end up getting much more likely to get your stuff looked at. We are also going to be having another challenge next week. We're going to be doing these challenges weekly. So I will be making a post in my community. I will be making 2 posts, one on YouTube. No, not. I'm not going to make a post. No, I'll make a post on YouTube. I'm going to make one. No, I'm going to be making a post in my Discord in the general chat that you can respond to with ideas for next week's theme. And you can also respond to the comments of this video. You can comment on this video with suggestions. I'm going to collect those, and then I'm going to pick from like 3 or 4, and then we'll make a poll, and then that'll be how we pick the challenge for next week. Does that sound good? What time on Sunday? Usually around 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's usually when we start. Yeah, I'm turning into mush. All right, guys, you are absolutely amazing. Before we end, let's just give a big round of applause for everybody that submitted Homebrew for the stream. You guys are great. You're champions. Thanks to everybody who showed up to stream, who participated in the challenge. You know, this is what I do for a living, so whenever you show up and hang out and participate in the conversation, it genuinely has an impact on my life in a way that is at least medium. And yeah, I appreciate you. I hope you appreciate me. And I hope if you don't appreciate me, I hope you at least just don't hate me when I'm a little bit harsh. All right, have a good night. Be good to each other. Love you. Bye.
I don't think about it. About you leaving me. I don't know who I'd be with everything we built.